It's another edition of Comics Cast Let It Out. And running just a little bit behind schedule, but we're about ready to get to the nitty gritty. But before I do that, I want to tell everybody a little bit about what Comics Cast is. And on this beautiful Sunday, April 24th, we are all about the indie creator. So if you're in the indie comic industry and you're a writer, a publisher, a inker, you name it, colorist, we want you on the show. And Comics Cast Let It Out is about getting that little more intimate draw and talk where we actually get you on the show, we interview you, and we basically get to learn more about you from a very personal standpoint. Today, we have some very special guests. It's going to be a treat because it's a little bit different. This particular guest, Braxton Cosby, he's doing a little bit of he's bringing a new game. He's basically a fusion of, I want to say it's like a hybrid fusion of fiction. So a little bit of alliteration there, where he's actually a novelist who's actually venturing into the comic world. And he's, from what I've seen, it's awesome. It's so great. And we also have his one of his featured artists and a sneak peek of that new collaboration, Rom Silva, who's going to be on here as well. He's all the way from Brazil, and that goes to show that talent has no geography. We can have somebody that's in America working with somebody all the way from Brazil. So stay tuned because we're going to have a great show, and we're going to be able to show what Starchild, Cosby Media, and Rom Silva all bring to the table. So here we go. Hey, how you guys doing? We got Mr. Braxton Cosby and Rom Silva. Say hi to everybody.
How you guys doing? Hey, everybody.
Hey, I'm going to actually move.
Hi, guys.
I'm going to do a little bit of musical chairs here. I'm going to move myself to the bottom because I want you guys to get all the love. There we go. All right, Braxton Cosby, Rom Silva. We got Braxton hailing all the way from, I think it's Atlanta, Georgia. Is that correct?
Atlanta, GA.
Yeah, and then we also have Rom Silva hailing from Brazil. So yes. I gotta say, it's like creativity has no geographic boundaries. You guys are bringing. I mean, I've seen the work. I know it's awesome, and we're gonna share that with the audience and make sure they know just how awesome you guys are. And yeah, moving right along. Let me actually get to the comment field. I'm gonna drop some social media handles in there. Hold on one moment, and let me get that up here. Okay, all right. So first of all, for Braxton, and let me put this in the chat area. But you can follow Braxton here on Twitter, and I'm going to just to be a little bit, and actually Facebook, and also for Rom, let me get that in there. And let's show this. This is how you can find him on Instagram and Facebook as well. So I want to let everybody know that this will be in the comment field. It's tagged to the top, but we're going to actually reiterate that because I know you're going to get lots of followers after they get to see the worlds of wonder that you guys have created.
That'd be great.
But that being said, let's just move right along. I don't want to hold up this great story that I was privy to during our pre-show, and I've just learned a little bit more about the both of you. Let's move to the segment of the show that we call the origin story, and that's basically where I put the mic in the hands of our guests. And let's go with, I guess, Braxton first. And he's just going to just tell us about his creative journey. And it is indeed a really cool creative journey because not only from a creative standpoint, but as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as somebody who's really just bringing in awareness, like I said, from a novel fiction standpoint, he's venturing into the comic world. So here we go. Braxton, the mic is in your hand. Tell us your origin story.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. Comics Cast has been something I've been anticipating for a while, so really, really appreciative of the opportunity to get on and speak to you and your fans of the show, Jarrell. This is great. For me, it's been a journey since 2010. I was on this journey of writing. Started my first novel, Star-Crossed Saga series, a young adult young fiction series, but I started the first book 2010, got it published. That was Protostar, and then eventually just kind of kept moving along with it, ended up finishing the trilogy. And then I had a spin-off book with a bounty hunter. So things just started moving. I was very, very grateful to win a couple of awards. with Protostar, Reader's Favorite Book of the Year for Young Adult Science Fiction, and CLC International Book Award for Children's Literature. Then kind of ventured into writing superhero novels after our company, Cosby Media Productions. My wife is the owner. I'm the CEO, kind of handling the day-to-day operations of it. And we have over 30 authors in our stable with 60 novels, and that ranges all the way from platforms of ebook, paperback, and audiobooks. So just a lot of great works in there. I feel like our wheelhouse is really fiction. We do a lot of fantasy fiction. We do, like I said, superheroes. We do science fiction. We do, just regular literary fiction as well. And of course, we've been venturing into so many other avenues. We even have some horror as well. So it's been quite a journey. And concerning our superhero series, we have what we call the CMP DSU, which is the Cosby Media Productions dedicated superhero universe.
Whoa!
And that just means that we got all those guys you have in that banner there are just some of the heroes and villains that we have in our superhero universe, and they're all linked. We have novels where people are kind of being referred in the background of, hey, there's this world we hear that Menzuo, there's this new hero named Menzuo. You might hear of him, and Metatron might refer to characters from Bark and so forth and so on. So they've been slowly matriculating in these stories to end up uniting, and we did that about 2 years ago with Infinity 7. So that's kind of our Avengers Assemble book, where author Keyshawn Dodds of the Menzuo series, Kaio Champion of the Majesties of Canaan, and my series, The Cape, kind of all came together. Yep, there it is with Infinity 7. And we got that book going, and now we're working on the second book in that series, because that's book 1, Gods Among Men. Where basically, all these heroes finally got together and kind of mashed it up. So, there's that initial meeting where it's very tenuous and stressful, and then eventually they kind of get on common grounds about an antagonist that's on the way who's very powerful. So that's where we kind of ended with the story of the novels. 6 authors, 16 novels. That's been the journey. Daniel Payton has the Bark series of 3 books. I have the Cape series, which is books 1, and book 2 is Overdrive in the Cape series. And then we end up getting Infinity 7, which I still consider kind of one of the books in the Cape series. And then Metatron has a 4-book series out right now with author Lauren St. John, and of course Keyshawn Dodds with the Menzuo saga, which is 4 books. So we've got all these novels. We even have another young talent named Genevieve Rose Vickers, who came up with, if you see here, this is Amethyst, which is one of our female solo novels. Great book. She just got the first one done. She's working on the second one now. So a lot of diversity, a lot of inclusion in our works. And we just want everybody to be able to feel at home, feel comfortable expressing themselves with the characters that are dear to their heart. And I think we've done that. We've cultivated this world. So we were like last year, 2011, me, Daniel, Keyshawn, and Lawrence kind of got together like, where do we go now? We've got these books, we've got these novels, we're reaching readers. We really want to see if we can expand our reach. And so we kind of kicked around the idea of going into comics.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear right here.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we were on this call and we were like, hey, let's do a Kickstarter. Well, how much do comics cost to get made anyway? And we went into all of that, and man, it was daunting, the numbers, but if you want talent, you got to pay for it, So I understood that. So we were like, let's do a Kickstarter. We'll set our goal to get everything. That way we can get paid for shipping, pay for the artwork to be done and everything. And we kind of handed this off to one studio, Fantasy Art Studios, really talented guys out of Atlanta, to try to do all of them. But we realized with deadlines, there was no way they can work on all 4 of these books. So we started kind of getting ourselves out there into social media, and people just came. And I spoke with a very talented writer himself, Tyler the Animator, who has the Antagonist series. I had met him at a convention, and he kind of gave me a couple of names, said, hey, reach out to these guys. They're very talented. So I started just, putting the nose to the grindstone, trying to reach out and find talent to just help us get this all done. And sure enough, before you know it, now we're sitting here. We have 5 talented groups of artists and colorists that work with us on our comics, and this project in particular, I had the pleasure of working with Bruno Abadas on the Cape. He did the Cape comic for me, which is the Cape Hellfire. We also had Marcelo Salazar, who worked on both Metatron and Menzuo. And like I said, we had all the work being done on Bark with Fantasy Art Studios. So we had the talent, we had everybody done. Now we just had to get the Kickstarter complete and funded. And by the grace of God, over 60 days we did. So we got it all funded. We give a lot of people love. Our comics in the back. We have all our backers in there, and we give them love and appreciation. And we just finished our first initial order of everything, because these comics are fresh, Gerald. They just came off the press.
Yes.
In April. So we're excited because we're going to finally get the backers what they were looking for. So all those books will be coming in, going out to the authors. They're going to do their autographs and send them back to me, and then my wife and I are going to do this mass distribution. So here we are as a company, brand new. Starchild Comics, as you can see.
Yes, that's
production. Cosby Production is the book publishing company, and our comic imprint is Starchild Comics.
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
That's why we feel as an umbrella entity, we are a hybrid, because we don't just do novels, we don't just do comics, we do novels and comics. So all of our comic books are extensions of our already established novels.
Right.
So we got Cape's book 1, 2, 3 with Infinity 7, and Cape Hellfire, the comic, picks right up after the events of Infinity 7. And we've got Bark 1, 2, and 3. Bark Power Struggle, the comic, picks right up after book 3. We got Menzuo 1, 2, 3, 4. Right after that, we end up picking up with Menzuo War at Home, and then the same thing with Metatron, picks up right after the 4th book, which just came out, which was The Secret Grid. Terra at the Track, the comic. So we're just extending our reach. We're moving. We want people to read the comics and then come back and read the novels, and that's why strategically what we did is that at the end of every novel, at the end of every comic, if you zoom in on this.
Yep, let me do that. Oops, let me maximize it. There you go.
We came up with the idea of, hey, let's give them a page. Let's make it simple. There's a QR code right here where they'll be able to, when they finish the comic, man, I really, really dug that. I want to go back to the origin story. Well, here's your origin stories where you'll get all the references of Menzuo. All you got to do is scan that QR code. It takes you to a page where you can make your purchase, and then you'll have everything you need for that world. So we're just inviting readers to come in and take part in something that we feel is very, very special. So many superheroes, so many novels. I mean, it's all indie and it's all fun.
Yeah, and that's, I'm going to jump right in here before we get to hear a little bit about the origin story for Rom. But this is the thing that I thought was so intriguing about the whole Cosby Media Productions Starchild Comics formula. This is what we alluded when in the post that I made about you guys coming on here. It was the hybrid thing where you're actually, this is what I found so intriguing, because your roots are in novels. Your roots are in a book format. And, I think and then we have comics, visual medium. And I think that's one of those really brilliant things where we can encourage your audience or potential readers, like, jump in, read a novel, let your imagination flow from that. But then, you're not actually going back to the drawing board, literally. You're actually it's an extension. So like you're saying with the Cape, I think there was like three novels, I believe. And then the fourth issue, which is, the issue number 4, which is actually the first comic book of the Cape.
That's right.
That's going to pick up where the novels left off. So I think that's a great way. It's almost like, I'm going to say like Star Wars, where we had like the New Hope, but then they would do the prequels. Except this is it's bridging gaps. We have a visual medium. Let's go back to writing like prose or writing a novel. And I think that's great, because it can basically allow readers from all, maybe there's going to be some cross-pollination here. People that just love novels and maybe people that just like comics, maybe they can love both. And I think that's a brilliant strategy, and it encourages people to go, the QR code that you just showed me, it's super convenient. And I think that we're going to actually share your website a little later on so that people can see, you mentioned the Kickstarter campaign, successfully funded. It was ready to go, but of course, if you missed the Kickstarter, that's okay. Don't sweat it, because you're going to be able to get those issues. You may not be able to get all the little perks, if you were in the know for the Kickstarter when it dropped, but you can still participate. You can still get in on the I think that was more than a mouthful, the name of your universe, but I'm just gonna say it's gonna be the Cosby Starchild universe. There you can still get in on it and pick up right where where you guys are telling your story. And I love that you're a studio. It's not just Braxton that's doing it. He's partnered with several talented writers, and they're all taking that step where they're getting ready to go into the visual medium. And I think we lost Rom. We gonna get him back here and back in. All right, Rom, we dropped you for a second there. I'm glad you're back. So before we I'm gonna switch it up and I'm gonna show some artwork here for Rom. Rom is from Brazil. He understands. I mean, when we chat, understands all of my English, but he's still a little bit uncomfortable with speaking English. But I'm gonna just give the mic to you, Rom, and if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, I'm going to show some artwork. But if you ever feel uncomfortable about it, just let Braxton know, and he's been more than happy to talk about his relationship with you. So, Rom, are you ready to talk a little bit about yourself? Rom? Can you hear me, Rom?
Looks like it might be a little frozen there.
Oh, okay.
It's coming through now, though.
Okay, all right. Hey, Rom, can you hear me?
Hi.
I guess we get a... Oh, there you go, Rom. Can you hear me?
Mike.
All right, Braxton, how about while we're waiting for Rom maybe to his stream to be a little bit more stable, I'm going to show some artwork here, and I would love for you to tell the story in terms of just how you met Rom and
social media. What a power. You know what I mean? It's a great vessel when you use it the right way. So as we started kind of getting our social media presence out there with Starchild Comics, Rom hit me up. He was like, "Hey, are you looking for an artist? I've got some talent. I've done this and that." And my thing is always when people message me, I say, "Hey, well, show me what you have." So these selections that you're showing here are some of the things that he showed me visually that he had done in the past, and I was, of course, impressed. I mean, his art style is great, and I think the thing that's important to me with being behind this whole thing is really linking the right work with the right artist. So it doesn't matter how talented you are, if your art style doesn't kind of fit the vibe of the story that we want to tell, then I can't use it. I mean, I've got a ton of illustrators who reach out, "Hey, I want to do this," and I'm like, "Hey, your stuff is good, but we really don't have a project that matches that quite yet." But I knew I was working on something very special that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. So when I saw his art, I was like,
secret.
Bam, that is going to work with what I have coming through down the pipe. So, we went ahead and we commissioned Rom to join the team. And I'm telling you, I could not be any more pleased with the outcome of some of the pages that we have coming up in our next project.
Yeah, I have to say that when I saw her, and we're actually gonna dive right into like that Hush Hush project a little. It's coming up. I want to hint to that. But when I was looking at this artwork, these are pages of that Rom has done. They're not related to Starchild or Cosby Media, but like I said, this was kind of like the test run. This is basically the pages that he shared with Braxton to kind of like give him an idea what his visual style is. And I had to say, I was blown away. He has such a mastery of like the lines, positive and negative space. Even puts in some. It looks like it's almost like it's a digital ink wash. Where he's creating further depth. We see some things with some speed lines, and you can see it's very dramatic. It's almost like these are stills from a storyboard that could be used for a movie.
Right.
And I think that's Braxton, from what I've learned from you, you're like a man of many media talents here. So I'm sure you it caught your eye in terms of like, hey, I can actually use this. And that was the thing, is that you being a novelist, you have these stories that are running around in your head, and this is what we're going to reveal. We're going to reveal like a new IP that's in the Cosby Starchild universe, and you saw Rom style and said, you know what, this is an excellent opportunity where you can pair an artist to really tell the story that's in your head, finding that perfect, the perfect combination. It's like the Reese's peanut butter cup, the peanut butter and the chocolate right there. So I'm just looking at this. Look how much action. This is just, yeah. I have to say, and this is just black and white. And I'm just gonna, I was privy to some of the hot off the presses, ultra top secret like coloring of Rom Silva's artwork, and it looks great. It's like next level. So if you like this black and white ink wash composition already, you're gonna love it when it's actually colored. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish showing. There's a couple more pages here, and just look at this. The choice of line works, the strokes, the hatching, even the perspective. I like this worm's eye view for this mid panel. Lots of drama, and I could tell, when looking at this, I can see what the attraction. I can see why Braxton, what he could be the fit for telling my story that's in here. And here, this is a good example of not so action oriented scene, but it still has that nice drama, nice camera angles, nice movement. So visually interesting. And I could see this easily being translated to like a movie storyboard. Rom, I don't know. Can you hear me? Is the stream catch up? Did you want to say anything? Okay, great.
Yes.
Awesome. We've been showing your work, and I've been heaping praise on you because this is just phenomenal. I don't know. Did you want to like take a few moments to talk a little bit about yourself and like your creative journey, like when you started drawing and how you met Braxton? Did you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Did you want to say it, or did you? Is what Braxton said about you, is that good enough for your origin story?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think we're going to say with Rom is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. He lets his pages and his artwork speak for himself. It's brilliant. So, Braxton, let's dive into a little bit about. We're gonna go into like talking about this new secret project because I think it's gonna be a nice segue into the live drawing. And when we talked about during the pre-show how we can actually go back in time a little bit and talk more about those other IPs that are underneath Cosby and Starchild. So let's talk about this secret project. I'm gonna pull up a PDF to do that, and I'm honored to actually debut this on Comics Cast because I'm excited and I love it when I can get exclusives. So
got it.
Yeah. So Braxton, I want to say thank you for letting me have this exclusive. So here we go. I'm gonna do the drum roll, and here we go. We're gonna get to this, and here we go. This is it. This is broken. So. Braxton, tell us about this and tell me if when I show these pictures, when we get to the part where we show Rom's contribution, I want you to kind of like talk about a little bit more about that relationship you have. So here we go. The mic is in your hands. Talk about.
So this is an interesting story. So Broken is actually my 17th novel that I've written. And I really wanted to write something from a first-person perspective. From a female. I hadn't written any narrative like that just yet. So I really wanted to try to capture it. And I just thought in my head that I wanted to write this dystopian story. And so imagine, the future where war is still kind of on the brink with the entire world. We're kind of teetering on World War III. And then one day, all the countries in the world just nuke each other. Boom, So it basically forces everybody to the coastlines. So centralized America is pretty much awash. Everybody's going to the coastlines, trying to find sanctuary and clean water and things like that. But every country is knocked out by this. So nobody knows who pressed the buttons first. Nobody knows who initiated it. Just knows it happened. And in that, 70% of the world's population is decimated, is destroyed. So we only down to 30% of the world population. And of those percentages, we have different people who actually stay. So some people of that 30%, 70% become actually what they call ashers, zombies. Then you have another percentage of people who survive, and they have poisoning and things like that. And then you have another group of those who survive. 1% of the survivors are what we call alphas. So they actually inherit these special powers where they become very clairvoyant. They can see the future and things like that. And what we find out is that this main protagonist here named Kisa is one of the alphas, and she doesn't know that yet. So what you showed earlier, Darrell, was actually the cover of the novel.
Yes,
that's Broken in a nutshell. So it's her journey. As you can see, I work with a digital artist, and the images you're showing now, like the backward progression from where we went from the initial cover to the initial sketches, and then the cover work, and then I have another designer who put the text on. So Broken represents these three factions. Basically, this one faction called the Establishment became very dominant. They're like a police force, and they decide that since the world is in chaos and money means nothing anymore, the one currency that's going to matter is a human one. And they basically go back into slavery. And this doesn't matter gender, creed, color, class, anything. If you're weaker, they enslave you and they use you for trade. So now people have become currency. And when we pick up the novel in the beginning, that's where Kisa is. Kisa is in this slave camp in these settlements that are scattered around the United States. And she's actually in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia, along the coastline. And that's where her journey picks up. And they actually use you for work. And her job is a scout. So she's basically just made to be a scout. So you've got slaves, you've got the zombies, which are called ashers because they've been exposed to the radioactive ash and they become like these overpowering, mindless beasts. At least that's what everybody thinks. And then you also have the Establishment, but you also have one more faction, which is called the Hoarders. And the Hoarders are kind of your Mad Max kind of rebellious type of folks who are just like pillaging whatever is in the land and trying to survive as well. And if they meet you, they'll run over you, they'll kill you, and they'll kind of ravage the land. So what you're looking at here is a variant cover that Rom has worked on for me. He gave me 3 variant covers for Broken. And we've got, Kisa in the middle. We've got the zombie faction in the top left. We've got the Establishment in the top right. We've got her little brother Kieran on the left. And we have a very interesting character who we introduce in the comic named Dr. Greg on the right. And then you see the Hoarder faction down on the left. And then the zombie again, a special type of zombie, mind you, in the bottom right. So what was cool about writing this is that the novel itself really became more of a narrative of Kisa's struggle. And it's a very emotional, powerful story. She's lost her parents. She's only got a little brother. She's really ready to kind of throw in the towel and die because she feels it'd be better to be dead than be a slave. And then there's a twist that happens in the story that kind of redirects the character down that prose. And then there's a lot of close-ups in the comic that come out a lot because I want to really capture that emotion. And Rom did a great job in the panels of capturing this intense kind of despair world. And if you look at the faces, there's always a ton of emotion in the faces that really kind of tell the tale, because I think the novel itself is so powerful that I wanted to make sure we conveyed that in the artistry in the comic as well.
I have to say that I totally feel this. I mean, I'm looking at this, and just like we talked about earlier, this is hybrid. This is the hybrid fiction that you're talking about, is where this evolved from a novel, and it's going into a comic book. Now, this is what I want to say about Broken, because we mentioned everything from Metatron and the Bark and the Cape. Is that what's different about this one? Because with those, there were novels. And in case like the Cape, let's use that as an example. There were 3 novels, and then the first comic book, it picks up where those 3 novels, ended, and that's technically issue 4 or novel 4, but it's in a visual medium. What's different about Broken, and this is what correct me if I'm wrong here. Broken is going to be a joint launch. There's going to be a novel and a comic book. And
Absolutely.
so here we have a novel. Explain how this works out, because if the novel and the comic come out, are they like, is the comic going to be like a graphic novel of the novel, or are they just like, how the story's gonna, like, are they gonna be like one which is the chicken and which one is the egg, which comes out, which is the first part of it?
Well, as you see on here, this says book 1. So the comic is actually going to be book 2. So it picks up. There's a huge cliffhanger at the end of book 1, and it jumps right into that with the comic book.
Gotcha.
So again, we're about extending stories, Jarrell. We're not about changing anything and giving you whatever. The thing that you say makes this story so special is that it's a joint drop. We're going to have a Kickstarter run in June, so everybody just be looking out for that.
Bookmark that.
June 1st, we'll have the Kickstarter going for this. So we're going to have some great options where you get to, pick up the comic and the novel signed by me and everything. And this one is just a piggyback. So we haven't done it like this before, but we're really, really excited because I think that people are going to be intrigued with how we tell this story. The first book, as you can see on the cover, you've got the blurred out hoarder in the background on the left.
Yes.
As a zombie way in the back, if you can kind of see him. You see that? And the establishment is on the right. But with that, that's really the bulk of the story. We really kind of go in ground floor level with the hoarders and the story of the establishments. We really want to build that world out. So we do that really throughout the entire story, and we kind of introduce the mystique and the lore about the Ashers in they're kind of always lingering there, and then we finally do like a reveal of them. But we really dive in the comic book. I'm like, hey, it's time for some zombie action, We really give people a ton of that in the comic book. So that's how I kind of crafted it, and I think that it really came out well.
I think you're now that I heard how it is, because I was a little curious about how that double drop is going to do, how that's going to happen, and it makes complete sense. It's almost like I think they're going to do this with Kenobi. You're a fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars franchise. They're gonna drop 2 episodes on the premiere date because 1 is not enough. And I think that we're gonna look at here with we're learning the story about Kisa, the establishment, the Ashers, and I forgot, is it the hoarders? The hoarders.
Yes.
We're learning about these factions, and it's like, I think Braxton is setting it up as that 1 issue will not be enough, or 1 novel is not going to be enough. And I like this approach because you can read the book. It gives the opportunity for readers to kind of like formulate in their mind, what these characters look like, but they don't have to go too far because if you get the book, you can the comic. You don't read it first, of course, but now you get, here you see it on the show too. You actually have these visual pictures that are in your head. So you have these, I think it's a brilliant move because it allows you not, typically when you buy a novel, the artist, the cover that's on the novel, that kind of like
you get
a little bit, but here, you're going to get a taste of it. And I think it's awesome because if you read the book, you've already got a little bit of what the art direction is going to kind of like, your appetite's been whet. And then you kind of like go, well, you read the comic afterwards and you're like, oh, wow, is it what I was thinking? Or, maybe it's just cementing that perception. It's bringing focus to the story and giving more visual aids. And I love it. We're going to actually dive in a little bit later on when we actually do this. This is a hint. This is going to be our first live drawing challenge. We're going to be drawing Kisa. And, we'll go into the aesthetics. And, of course, we don't want to go into spoilers. I think we've talked a little bit about it. But any little... I'm all about getting more exclusive. So if you want to drop a little bit more, you can. You can tell us a little bit more about it. But I really want to just get everybody interested in this because this is just, a great design. Now, I remember you said that this artwork that we see here, this is the cover for the novel, it is not done by Rom. It was done by another artist. You worked with them to you gave them all sorts of visual references in terms of like what Kisa was supposed to look like. And I love her look. It's very unique. I get a lot of Avatar, The Last Benders type vibe to it because I think when you talk about factions, you talk about you're weaving in. I think there's a culture that's in here, and the fact that you put things in here in Atlanta, you want to write for what and that's your hometown, so you can basically you know what, maybe even use like landmarks and things like that. You can say this is the post-apocalyptic world, and maybe there'll be like some Atlanta references in there.
Right.
But we're gonna talk a lot about her aesthetics and her story. But you know, from here, I wanted to like, you know, I'm gonna go. We're gonna do the reveal. We're gonna go into like the stuff that we talked about, because we got the reveals in terms of like what this new series is, but there's even more reveal stuff that I just got in the last 24 hours. So here we go. This is Rom's artwork. It's great, and Braxton has already said that he wanted him to be the champion artist for this book because he has a unique way of bringing a gravitas with their expressions and things like that. And aside from these great strokes and this positive negative space usage, it's just brilliant work. So here we go. We're going from this. You know, we showed this, and let me just do a little bit of hint. Okay, there it is. All right, here we go. And this is the official reveal that is fresh, certified fresh for just in the last like 24 hours or 12 hours. Here we go. This is the cover for quote unquote book 2, which is going to drop here. Rom, I gotta tell you, look at this artwork. It was brilliant to see Rom's artwork black and white. But now we got the trade dressing that's been added. We have the colors. And Braxton, you want to talk a little bit about this? Tell us a little bit about who the colorist is and who the trade dressing. You know,
well,
tell us all
I
about
tell you,
This is amazing.
I ended up putting out some feelers because I had to get the right colorist. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a colorist. And I got a whole bunch of people kind of brought their work to the table and wanted to give me, you know, an idea of viewing of what they had. And I stumbled across a very talented guy. I want to make sure I get his name right. It is Julio Cesar Rojas Caballero.
Oh my God.
And he's got 4. And so he's from Mexico. And he showed me, you know, some of his art and the color technique. And I'm sitting there like, that's the one, you know. I just loved his use of light and shadows, and I just thought his color was so brilliant. So, you know, with a lot like what I did with Rom was like, hey, send me a page, I'll do a test page for you. He sent me a test page, and of course, when he did it, I was like, oh, okay, great, we got Rom, you know. And so the same thing happened with Julio, is that I sent him this variant cover. I said, hey, color it and see what you got. Within 24 hours, he sent me this, and I almost fell out my seat, you know, because again, I consider myself an artist to a point that I'm always looking at design and everything, you know. So all of our characters, I'm proud to say, everybody from the CMP-DSU, all of our authors design these characters, and you know, with sketches or whatever they could, and then we hand them off to the artists who are, you know, uber talented to bring them to life. But we, from head to toe, the costume designs, everything. So I was very intentional with Kisa, is that I wanted her to wear what they call a dehuku, which is her head wrap, you know. And it's a special kind of story behind that in the novel when you're reading it, where she got that from with her ethnic background and things like that. But again, if you look at the blade, the cunius blades that she uses, that's something that she got trained with her father. She throws knives, you know. And I wanted to capture the 3 factions in the blade, you know. So you've got the zombies right there, the Ashlers right in the forefront. You've got the Hoarder, and then you've got the establishment in the back. So, I mean, it really just came out amazing. When Julio sent me this, he was like, yeah, I didn't really know what to do with the background, so I kind of made it this color. I hope it's okay. I'm like, are you crazy?
You know? I'm looking at this, and this is the brilliance of Rom. You know, I don't know if you gave him art direction, but in terms of like, you know, of course, he got the Kisa art direction, but to do the throwing knife and do the reflections, it reminds me of that iconic Todd McFarlane Incredible Hulk cover where it showed Wolverine and he had his blades extended.
Oh, okay.
You can see the reflection.
Yeah.
This isn't an homage to that, because obviously Kisa doesn't have the 3 blades coming out of her hands, but it reminded me of that. But you've taken it a step further. It's not the 3 blades that form one image. It's one blade, but there are inset in the blade are those 3 factions.
Yes.
And I'm eating it up. This is brilliant. It was nice because it actually shows all the factions. And if you're gonna, you know, if we're gonna cross-reference this with the brilliant cover that was used for the novel, you're hinted about what the factions are, but you don't really see them.
That's right.
I think this is brilliant because I don't know if you did this intentionally, but I'm getting it's sort of like the issue 2. We're focusing We're
Absolutely. That's exactly what we did.
Oh, that's it. So we're literally bringing all this into focus. So now we're learning more about the factions, and we're comics being a visual medium. You're using the comic media element, capitalizing on what comics bring. They bring that visual appeal to it. So now we're bringing that into focus, and I like what Rom did here by just doing them inset in the blade. And I'm getting all sorts of, I'm a big fan of like a lot of art. I get a lot of Joe Mad vibes. I get a lot of, there's just, even some contemporary art. Some artists that are hot right now. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Dyke Ruin or Olivier Coipel. I like, it's all unique Rom, but I can see a lot of just some really neat strokes. And then you've got Julio, who's coming in here from Mexico represent here with these colors. And, I'm just seeing how he's able to elevate. And I think that's one of the things too, when you pair, whether it's a penciler with an inker or an inker with a color, whenever you're building this process. And I just find I'm in awe that this is your first foray into it, and you have an eye for talent because you put this team together. This is the Cosby Media Starchild Avengers Assemble. You put them together, and you're able to produce this. This is top tier stuff. This is stuff that should be able to play with the big boys in terms of
and that's what I feel, quality. And that's what we wanted. I feel like all of our comics. I'm so proud of the job that the authors did first by telling the story. Because I told them, I said, guys, you have to show off. We finally get to show these characters doing what we said they do in the novels, but let's show off a little bit. Let's challenge these artists to bring your guys to life, and let when people see them go, oh my God, that's what I saw, or maybe I didn't even see them like that, and they look even much cooler. I said, do not hold back. Don't give us a boring story. Let's introduce these characters in these comics to just be all out fabulous, and they did a great job of writing that. And the work that all of these artists did in the panels, man, the work has just been exceptional. And so when people see, I've done a couple of conventions so far. I've had Menzuo and the Cape with me. And when people stopped at the tables to look at the artwork, they were like, man, honestly, this is up there with DC and and Marvel stuff, and even Dark Horse comic. Like this doesn't look indie at all. So that's always been my intention, even with Cosby Media Productions, from a standpoint of publishing. We always wanted people to look at our novels. They didn't look like self-published, traditional self-published novels where you can just tell somebody kind of use some word art and kind of put things together. This was artwork, so we want artwork first. We do believe that people do judge a book by its cover first. And then they look inside and they kind of make sure the formatting doesn't look crazy and everything looks good, and then they pick up the books, So so I felt the same way with the art, man. It has to stand out. It has to slap you in the face and go, wow, who did this? And so again, like I told you before, I'm an artist. So I'm an artist first. Of course, I'm a creative because I write, but I still think visually. As an artist, you see the things, the scenes happening in your head. You see the character, and you have to just write them down. And that's all I'm doing as a novelist. I'm just putting down my ideas in a way that somebody can read it and hopefully see where I'm going with the story as well. And and so I think we've been successful with doing that. And that's what we just want to continue to do, is tell stories that are vivid. And these books are what's going to capture all of the emotion and the world building that we have captured in the novels.
Yeah, well said. And I think that, this is another reveal. I got this. This was a colored page where Julio actually did colored a sequential that we didn't actually show earlier, the black and whites that Rom did. But this is Rom artwork colored by Julio. And I looked at this, and this is good. This is just great storytelling, because this is a more somber scene. It's not it's not the Ashers versus Kisa, like her just really struggling for survival. But it still has a emotional impact here, because I look at this and it reminds me of like that scene when Rick from The Walking Dead in episode 1.
That's right.
He wakes up and then he doesn't know what's happened. He's just in a hospital and doesn't even know what's going on. Now I'm not saying this is The Walking Dead, but I'm just saying that it had that mystery.
Those vibes,
that had that mystery to it. And Rom, being a great storyteller, interpreting your or a visual storyteller, telling your story, being able to show where Kisa has been in the novel, and now this is the comic book. And I'm gonna have to say, I take it this is it Kieran or
Kieran? Yeah.
Kieran, yes, Kieran, her little brother here. And I'm just saying, just like with a penciling style or an inking style, we're talking about a color style, and where colors come through. Julio's not on here, but I'm just going to say I'm going to give some praise out to Julio here. And I don't know if this was in your script to Julio to give him like the color theory behind things. But when I look at this too, you look at this in the somber color tones. They all work into it to help set the This is where I'm going to say it's like, that's why Pixar can make us cry. That's why Pixar can make us laugh, because Pixar, if you're a fan of Pixar color theory, then this is what Braxton is doing with Julio. He's giving art direction in terms of how to set the mood. And you want to talk a little bit about this? Because that was my interpretation.
Yeah, well, you're right on board. So I'm glad that what I was trying to do got picked up because that's exactly what it was. My thing was, I said that Broken is an emotional book. I mean, if you put yourself in the place of Kisa throughout the first book, man, you're really, really rooting for her. She's had so much loss up to this point. She loses even more throughout the novel. And so I wanted it to be this kind of dread feeling to it, And so I told Julio, look, when you're doing your color palettes in here, I want to keep that tone. I want to keep this ominous kind of haze of despair, with us. And I didn't want to be pulled out of the novel. I wanted that same kind of tone going. And I wanted to be able to capture that. And there are some amazing scenes that come up later, some pages in here later that I'm just so anticipating, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be used with lighting. We when we dove into this, obviously as a novelist, and I write screenplays as well, and writing a comic screenplay is a whole nother beast, because when you're a novelist, you got pages to play with. You can write how many words you like in your novel, anywhere between 10,000 to 150,000 if you like, so you got a lot of room to play with story. But when you get to the novel, you've got to cram all of this in a 3-act structure in about 24 pages, So, it became quite a challenge, because you've got, one page, you got anywhere between 5 to 7 panels, and you got to make sure that you're capturing the tone on those panels. You're doing reveals, maybe on the bottom right might be your last panel where the person is opening the door, and then they get to the next panel, and then boom, there's a big explosion. Well, where do you, kind of guide the reader's eye for the big important scene? So it took a lot of research for me as a writer to kind of get that down pat, as far as like what the structure of writing a 3-act story for comics is. So I felt like I had gotten to the point where after the first cape, I really kind of got a rhythm to it, and I passed that information on to the other authors, and they did a fantastic job with that as well. So when it came to Broken, I really felt like I was in the zone, and I was being so strategic with every page. Like I'm like, okay, this page we've got to do this, this page. Like these aren't just panels; these are like strategically placed.
Yes,
telling this story.
And I think that's brilliant. You're talking about this. I'm so amazed that you've gone the transition from novelist to comic writer, because yes, the story beats are different. You have to plan your when you work with artists, and I think this is testament to Rom's skill too, is because you have to plan the pages, because it's not just like turning a page in a novel. Well, yeah, it can be the same thing. Maybe you're afraid to turn that page because you don't know what's happening on the other page.
Right.
But in a comic, it's like you're affecting those beats too. You want to be able to say, hey, I want to build the suspense or the anticipation.
Right.
And do you want to do like panels that I think the science and the artistry that goes into telling a good sequential story. I mean, panel work in itself is artistry. Before you even put the art inside the panels. And I think that's great. You're talking about those beats. You're talking about how to really figure out the arcs. So because it's a more condensed storytelling. And it's done with pictures versus words, and I think that's really brilliant. So so we get this, and I think we were approaching our first hour, so I think this is a good segue getting into our first live drawing. So Rom, I know you've been quiet, and I'm so sorry here. So we're gonna get your archive in here, and that way we can actually do our first live drawing. So for for those, I didn't know if you got, if you were busy talking here, and I popped up some comments, and I'm going to pop them up again before we get to that live drawing, because I wanted you to see this. We got one of my really great friends, friend of Let It Out, personal friend to me and Comics Cast, David Whalen from Correct Handed Comics, another talented indie creator. This is indie creator love, going back to another fellow indie creator.
Thank you.
Great expression, great colors, great textures and patterns, great cover. I don't know how many greats can you put in there. That's testament to you guys, Rom and Braxton. If you didn't know, you're great.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much, friend.
Yeah, and we had somebody here earlier. I don't think you could just wow. I mean, you can't. You can't even just beat that. And then we have here from, I believe his name is David De Aquino. Congratulations on the work, Romaldo. So I don't know if he knows you personally, but at least he wants to congratulate you. So very cool things. And he also did this, which is myself. I'm just going to give you guys a hand clap too. That's just incredible artwork. So our audience, I want you to let you know we are going into the live drawing part of this. And we call it live drawing challenges, but they're not really challenges per se, because we're not keeping score, we're not competing against each other. Right. It's just another means by which we can endear our guests to our audience. So, and it gives my guests an opportunity to talk about their IPs in a more, we're going to drill down. We gave 1,000-foot overview of what Broken is about, and now we're going to drill down a little bit more. I think Braxton delved a little bit about the traditional headdress that Kisa wears, and she's a knife. She's been trained with using these knives. So we're going to learn a little bit more. And as much as I want to learn more, I want to put the disclaimer out there and say, hey, Braxton, don't spoil it, because we want
not at all.
to get the novel. If you just want to add one extra word to what Kisa is about, and then just go into her visuals, her aesthetics, then we can just do that too. But I encourage you to dig a little deeper, and you can actually talk a little bit about the Broken world more as well.
Absolutely.
But so Rom, actually for our audience, I'm going to show you two things, and I want people in our audience, if you're going to draw along with us, to do some screen captures. So here we go. So here we have, this is Kisa, and this is the cover for Broken, the novel, which will be dropping in conjunction with Broken, the comic book. So I want people to check this out. Look at the textures. And the fabric and the textiles. There's just, I would love to see. I hope you saved all your references that you gave to the artist to build this, because I'd like to see. I'm ready for the Broken behind the scenes book, where you talk. When you can document the art direction that you gave to the artist to come up with this. So here, this is the cover for the novel, and if you want to draw along with us, do a screen capture that. Okay, and here we go. We're gonna go to the colored version here of Rom's artwork, with the brilliant use of the blade with the inset pictures of the three factions that are in the Broken world. So check this out. Do a screen capture. You're going to draw along with us. These is what Kisa's going to be our first live drawing challenge. All right. So Rom, I'm going to add your art cam in right now. Okay. So here we go. Your art cam is now live. Oh, and it looks like you've already started. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's okay, because I really wanted to. It's okay, because I'm going to start the timer. We're going to have 15 minutes, and it's okay. I want you to kind of you're going to draw, and feel free, if you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing. And I'm just going to let the time split between the two of you to kind of build upon the story of Kisa. And I'm going to start the clock right now, and then I'm going to draw along too. And I want our audience, if you're going to draw along, let me know in the comments field that you are drawing along, and then post to our sister page on Facebook, which is called The Art Show. And we will be more than happy to show this to Braxton and Rom, and you can get instant feedback from the creators of Kisa and the world of Broken. So the clock is now ticking, and I'm just going to let the two of you talk a little bit more about Kisa. All right, here we go. Mic is in your hands, Braxton.
So just the world building in Broken, like I said, it's this very desperate kind of tone behind everything. I wanted people to read the novel and feel like, man, if I was thrown into this world, like what would I think? How would I respond? Basically, you wake up one day. Kisa is a teenager. She's when everything happens, she's about 16 years old, and now when we pick up the story, she's about 17. And so she, what would you do if you were a 16-year-old and your whole world just collapsed upon you, and now you've gone from your normal teenage days to being a slave where, you're now, you've been given a job, and she does have a job that she does every day. But you're also been separated from your family. Your brother is still with you in some respects because they do have a way of separating the slaves and the settlements. But how would you respond to that if your whole world was turned upside down and you don't have an opportunity? I think a lot of this was reflection for me because my daughter, when the pandemic hit, was getting into her senior year in high school, and obviously everything changed. There was no more prom, there was no more grad night, and all these other great things that happen with your senior year, and then school was turned upside down. So I really felt that, and I wanted to capture that tension of being kind of cast out of your norm, and really give people a perspective of a young teenager and how painful this is, and how these life changes really affected her beyond just just the fact that we had to also, on top of that, we had to have a pandemic we were dealing with. So this Kisa's tale is somewhat in that same vein, where she's not dealing with a pandemic, but she's in a global catastrophe.
She's dealing with an apocalypse, not a pandemic.
Apocalypse is worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just felt I wanted to get that in the world, and I think I was successful in doing that. You got to make new friends, and you have to almost be like a surrogate family to help get you from one day to the next. And again, you don't have news anymore. So you hear rumblings. All you do is hear rumblings. People talk. There's new slaves who come into the settlements every now and then because people are getting traded out. I've got value with this type of a slave. I trade with this other settlement. You've got to go. A new one comes in, and then you get more information. Is there anybody out there? Is anybody going to do anything about this? How do we continue to move forward in this type of light? And is this our end game? So all those questions are there. And as the story continues to progress, we get more information on how the world is, but what's Russia doing? What's London doing? You just want to hear all that, because there is no more CNN. There is no more Fox News. There's no more global information networks. So you just kind of have to deal with everything, grassroots movement of information coming in and out. So I think
like
it's
that.
just a very unique world.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost a little bit of a social commentary. But you're not doing it to you're not leaning left or right. You're just telling a good story. That's what I like about this, is that no agenda. You're basically just saying, hey, let's things that we're used to.
Right, absolutely.
We're used to the 24-hour news cycle to tell us, or maybe relying on Twitter or Facebook to get our news. And I like how all that's thrown out the window.
Right.
It's been really fun. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The whole world's been, like you say, redefined at this point. And now you just got to get into survival mode of how you're going to make things fit, And of course, what's great about writing, in a 3-act structure, you've got rules, So first act is just really much setting up this world of where the character is. This is what their norm is, quote unquote. You start to build the character. There has to be some amazing event that happens. We call it the inciting incident in writing, where the world is now going to change again. And then the character now, the hero, the protagonist, has to make a decision, and they only go into a debate mode of will I do that? If I do, what's at risk? What's at risk if I do? What's at risk if I don't? And then after that, they have the debate, and then they have to make the decision to go on the journey that's going to change the landscape of their world, probably forever. And then that takes you into Act 2, where now we're on the journey with the characters. And the whole thing is, okay, I've got a goal and objective planned. How do I accomplish that? Oh, I'm going to try to do this. There needs to be a shortfall, something that takes them off of the path, where they have to redirect their focus and try again. And they go back up again. It's another goal. objective that we're going to do. Boom, there's another shortfall. So, I mean, I think that's the natural progression of storytelling. And that's what makes everything so great is that, our lives are like that. We have goals, you want to go out and, buy a car, and you think you got all the money for it, and you get the funding, and all of a sudden, right before you buy the car, somehow, the funding falls through. You got to get somebody else to fund it. So you have all these things, and that's just, we gravitate towards that because that's our natural lives, and we want to see how these characters kind of do this over and over again throughout the story, through our act 2, and then you get to this point where there's a midpoint in the story where it's this pivotal event where the character looks like they win or they lose, but it's a false win or loss, and then because the story's not over. And then you go a little bit further, and then you get to this point where they call it the all is lost moment, where it looks like everything is at the worst, nothing can happen. This is rock bottom for the character. And we're all kind of sitting on the edge of our seat going, oh man, how are they going to get over this? And then what happens is I kind of call it that piece of the story. It's called the come to Jesus moment, where there's this big redirection of the character. I'm at rock bottom. I'm being redirected now. Now I've got to figure out a new way to get through this. And then when they do that, we move into act 3, where there's going to be the whole climactic moment where they go against whatever it is, whether it's man versus nature, man versus the unknown, or the antagonist itself, have the climax, and then we get a new normal that gets reestablished at the end. That is essentially the story that happens with Kisa throughout Broken, and cramming all of that into a comic when you move the next level. You just have to have a whole new set of objectives. That's all. And you establish that in the first 5 pages of the comic, and you just keep rolling into act 2 and 3.
Yeah, I had no idea that having you talk about this is a new first for Comics Cast. You just gave a masterclass in terms of how to build a story, how to build your arcs, and being able to show that. And I think that's the thing about indie creators is that by far the indie game has definitely stepped up in the last decade. It's filled a void in terms of like a lot of readers, myself included. I've kind of left some of the mainstream comics, and I found that the game that's in the indie community has been it's more elevated now in terms of indie is actually like a badge of honor now, and especially when you can say, hey, I'm coming up with a totally new IP, something that you haven't seen. I'm bringing something new to the table. And like I said, it's a masterclass. You just talked about how you can do a great story, building a story that I think that, when you're an indie creator, sometimes you don't know the ropes in terms of how to build an interesting story. And you being a novelist, you're bringing that information in, that wisdom, and you're obviously condensing it to a visual medium. But it's so neat to hear how you plan that out. So now you talked about how you're going to do the story arcs. I don't know if you want to go into a little bit more about Kisa. If you don't, maybe we can talk about the aesthetics. Before you do that, Rom, we have another 6 minutes to go. So heads up, if anybody's drawing along, we still have another 6 minutes to go. And Braxton, leave it up to you. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think aesthetically, what I wanted to do with Kisa is that, she is quote unquote a part of the establishment. Like, you're in the establishment's world. Like, it is a military faction. They are very cognizant of the threats that are out there in what we call the Deadlands. They have the threat of the Hoarders at any one time can try to come and attack and overtake the settlement. And of course, we have Ashers. And, imagine if both of them came. So everybody has a role to play to kind of keep the settlement safe and keep things operating, at optimal levels. So, Kisa does have a military outfit that she has to have, just in case things get out of hand, So she does kind of try to work on her skill set of the knife throwing. And, obviously that there's a great story, a backstory behind that, how she actually gets into that in the novel that is worked on with the Cunha's knives and things like that. But also, like I said, she's got this beautiful, thick, curly hair aesthetically that she has to do something with, so she does get into her African roots with the Dahuku head wrap that she continues to use to keep her hair kind of out of her face. So if she does have to, defend herself or even run, then it's to her advantage to kind of keep all of that beautiful hair under control, under wraps. Put it that way.
I like the practicality of that. I mean, you're
right.
keeping it real in the terms of like no hair shame here. It's 100% real in terms of like who she is and what her roots are.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? There's practicality to it. So why not put this traditional African head wrap into it? So it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, keep on going. I'm eating this up. I want to hear more about this.
Yeah. So so in that, obviously, like, okay, yeah, you got zombies, Braxton. Yeah, everybody has zombies. Well, our zombies are a little bit different, because essentially they're human beings who have ingested too much of what we call the fallout, and these ashes, and some people respond positively. Like I said, you can inhale ashes and turn into an alpha, and get special talents and abilities, or you could become a zombie. And like I said, we just kind of endearingly made our own name for them called the Ashers, and so we get a little bit of a hint at their lore in the book, but then we really dive into there's a great storytelling piece that happens in the comic that actually talks about kind of their true origin, and really, I think the first book to me was important to kind of define everybody and even not define. I didn't want to dive into the Ashers as much as I really wanted to kind of explore the Hoarders and the establishment, because I felt like that was something that Kisa would hold closer to the chest, because these were still human beings who were operating with their own motives and intentions. So I stuck with that storyline, and of course Kisa and her surrogate family as well, as much as possible with the first book in the series. And and Jarrell, honestly, dropping these two at the same time, and I tell people all the time, like, well, if I buy Menzuo, can I read the comic without getting the novel? And I say, sure, you could. But it's like going and looking at the Avenger movie without looking at all the side stories of, the first three Iron Men or Captain America. You're going to be so much more appreciative of the entire story if you read everything, So that's what we're doing. So we're going to continue, and I'm giving the autonomy to the authors to decide how they want to do it. Do they want to bounce back after comic one in the series and bounce back to novels and write more of that story, or do they want to jump into another comic to kind of extend that story and go back and forth? For me, right now, we're working on the outline. Me, Kyle, and Keyshawn are going to be working on the outline for Infinity 7-2. So basically, we're going back to novels again, because like I said, Cape Hellfire picks up right after the events of Infinity 7-1. So we'll jump back into that. And I haven't really decided yet with Broken, to be quite honest, because I'm excited about both of them. I really feel the story is rich and it's heavy. It's a 300-page plus book. So I think people are going to get a lot of great foundational story and world building to go with Kisa's tale. And then in the comic, we do have some wow moments, some big reveals in the comic that I think people are going to be really excited if they've already read the novel. I'm like, oh my God, like I was thinking about that, but I wasn't thinking about it in that vein. So really excited with the story progression so far.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, because I think what's going to happen, this is me just hypothesizing, but I think what's going to happen is that it won't be just a question of like people like, oh, I only like comics or I only like novels. It's going to be that hybrid cross-pollination that I had talked to.
Right.
They're going to actually go read the comic book if that's only there, and if they only love comics, and they're going to go, gosh, I want to know more. And then that's going to be their gateway into reading novels.
Yep.
And when I heard your story, I like your approach. Is like you wrote novels that were for a younger audience.
Right.
You keep that in mind. You know that I think you recognize there is a kind of a hole for in the media I think there is a lot of young adult comics or young adult novels, but maybe not good young adult novels and comics, and maybe ones that don't fit the superhero or maybe this post-apocalyptic perspective from that particular demographic. So I think that's great, because you're filling that void with a really good content. And that's one of the things that I recognize about this. And it's great content because we look at this art, we look at these characters, and it's to say the least, it's intriguing. It makes people want to get invested in it. So I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say that there's gonna be people that are from different worlds. They're gonna go, hey, maybe I'll pick up the novel because I only like comic books, but I'll pick up the novel. Or maybe that read the novel and go, like, let's, comic books are not just for little kids. It's a much bigger audience that's out there. And that's, I think that's what the Avengers and the MCU has kind of like proven, is that there's room for elevated storytelling that can reach lots of audiences. So very, very cool. All right, so actually it's expired.
All right.
I got so into like listening that I didn't get a chance to draw that much, but that's okay. The show isn't about me drawing, it's Rom drawing, it's about my guest drawing, it's about hearing Braxton's story. So I get to look up there because I've been listening to what Braxton's saying, and Rom, look at this. I am just in awe. So I'm gonna maximize this because I want everybody to see this. I want to see it edge to edge on screen here. So let me maximize this and check that out. Now here we have. He says she doesn't have her headdress on now. So like Braxton said, you get to see her beautiful natural hair here. And I have to say that the hair, hair for any character when you're doing a visual medium, it's a when it comes to comics, it's a static medium. It's not animated. It's not a movie. So how do you create motion? How do you create movement? How do you create energy? And usually, if you have a hero or heroine with just great hair, you can use that to like really show that motion or create that energy. And Rom, my gosh, I mean, look at this. I want everybody. Braxton, you want to do a little commentary? What do you think about this?
It's just fabulous. I really think, he captured, again, it's the emotion. You can see she's kind of hunched over a little bit. She may have gotten out of a fight. She may be fleeing somewhere. We don't know where the story is going. And I think that's the power of imagery, is that everybody can look at this and have a different interpretation. Obviously, Rom had an interpretation by drawing it. But me as an author, knowing where I would go with this story, man, I would say she just wreaked havoc on maybe some hoarders, or she just destroyed a whole battalion of some ashers, or maybe she's just in training right now. Maybe she was in a training session with somebody who's really kind of helping her improve her skill set. But at the end of the day, she is fatigued, she is tired, but she is still standing. And that is really what the story of Broken is about,
I totally got that too. It looks like she, I think that's the juxtaposition that I see here. She's a younger character, but she's in a post-apocalyptic world. She's dealing with adult stuff. Horrific. The world's in chaos here, and I just like this illustration, Rom, because I think for what Braxton said, why he chose you is because you're able to capture that emotion. And I use the word gravitas. It's like the world is on her shoulders. I mean, she maybe she did come out of just an massive Asher slaying, here, but she's the last woman standing, or the last girl standing. She's a young lady, she's not, she's having to grow up, but she's still a youth. And I think it's just really cool. So Rom, did you want to talk about your drawing before we see if anybody else drew along with us? Okay. Again, it's a little bit of that language barrier, but like I said, Rom's artwork speaks volumes. So, all right. So let me check out the our Facebook page and see if anybody on the art show. Again, let me look in the audience and see. Doesn't look like anybody in the comment field said that they drew along, but let me double check and see if maybe somebody just posted without telling me. So hold on one moment. I guess unfortunately people are still sleeping, so they didn't get a chance to draw along with us. But that's okay. I drew along, so let me share my screen. I want to show you what you guys made me think about when I saw your artwork. So here, let me stop sharing the screen here and let me share my art camp. And here we go. All right, so I tried to go for this kind of like bird's eye view, where like maybe the establishment is zooming in on her, and she's like, "Come get some." It's like, yeah, I'm not afraid of you. I think she's all about empowerment, and I think I got a little bit. This looks a little bit washed out, but anyway, you can kind of see it's. I always like to do extreme perspectives, and an extreme perspective complements this extreme character. She's just really awesome, and I almost want to revisit this and actually do one where she's not wearing the headdress. I want to follow in Rom's footsteps and maybe do one where her hair is really flowing. But I like it. I think that I like her. I want to hear her story, and this was my tribute, hearing the story in terms of like what both of you are bringing to the table. So this is Kisa, and I want to encourage our audience, if you did not get a chance to draw along with us and you still want to, we're going to keep on going with the other drawing challenges, but if you want to draw Kisa, let me know in the comment field, and we'll be more than happy to share it later on. So let me stop sharing this real quick. And I'm going to, before we get into our second live drawing, I want to like maybe go over some of the comments that we had here, because there were a few that popped up here. We get from Zalanda, is that Corey Correa? You are amazing, Rom. Wash hands, wash hands. I'm not really sure what that means, but I believe that's a comment. I mean, a compliment. so I think that's really cool. Thank you, Zalanda. We also got a comment here.
I was just tagging people to come in.
Okay. I see that. I think that's... And of course, we get another hand clap here from David Dickens, so he's loving it. So anyway, like I said, I want people to like really just dive in there with me, because I can't tell you how impressed I am with what Braxton and Rom are bringing to the table. Now, as we go into our second live drawing challenge, usually that's the co-host challenge, and you can tell that I am actually solo right now. So the co-host challenge actually is going to go to basically extending that to my guest. So Braxton, I told you during the pre-show that it's going to be you. You get to determine what Rom and I are going to draw. So that being said, it could be anything. It could be a dexterity challenge. It could be something to pop culture. It could be something that you are personally attached to, like an IP or a special character, or something that maybe the two of you have maybe Rom designed that you liked, or a special character or something like that. So that being said, what would you like us to tackle, Braxton?
Well, I think in the vein of dropping this great news and dealing with this post-apocalyptic world we're kind of playing in, because I know our third challenge is going to be something else. I just want to see you guys' interpretation of zombie. So give me your best zombie drawing you can in this 15 minutes.
Okay, all right. So this zombie doesn't have to be an Asher, right? It could be just any zombie.
Anything you want, any kind of zombie you want. You can run with it. It could be a
dragon zombie
like the one from Game of Thrones. It could be anything you want.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, good. I think Rom, that zombies go across every language. Zombies are universal. So in Portuguese or English, zombie is a zombie. All right, so let me start the clock. And 15 minutes are now starting. So the challenge, again, if you want to draw along with us, do your interpretation of a zombie. Let me know in the comment field that you're drawing along with us, and we'll be more than happy to share that. Post it to the to the art show Facebook page, and we'll be more than happy to share it. Okay, so while we're doing this, let's Braxton, I'm gonna just drop a question, and then of course you can just expand upon it, because I'm gonna have to get back in the drawing here. But zombies. Okay, so broken zombies. Obviously, I see the correlation in here, but what can you tell us? They're called ashers because they've ingested or they've been exposed to ash, I think. So I think that's kind of neat that you're coming up. It's not just, this typical zombie that you've heard of.
Right.
So my question to you is, like, coming up with the word ashers, it's very, it's the ash. You want to talk a little bit about like why what you tried to do? What were your thought process? Did you have this epiphany in terms of like what we're going to make your zombies different? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So, you got this nuclear waste and these ashes that are, this whole planet is now decimated. So this stuff is like flying around with the breezes and the winds, and it's everywhere. And unless you go out with a mask and things like that, you may get it in your eyes, you may ingest it, whatever. So I was thinking, like, how would this radioactive waste interact with the human genome? So I wanted not just to be about their physical abilities that get changed with the exposure, but also their skin. So ashers, if you look at them, they would almost look like there's embers of flesh just kind of flaking off of them at any one time, So I was very deliberate with telling Rom, like, hey, I would send him images of ashes and say, hey, imagine when you're drawing these things, I want to see flakes of their skin just kind of, wafting off in the air, just to make our ashers look a little bit different from most other zombies, So that was very deliberate. I'll tell you an interesting story, Jarrell, behind coming up with Broken, because I was writing this last year and I knew it would be my next novel before we started thinking about, I started crafting the outline probably in the early stages of 2021. And then I started writing it. And then, like I told you, we met like in March and we put together the Kickstarter in July. We ran it for 2 months and we got it funded. But by this time in the background, I was always working on Broken. So we knew we wanted to go full throttle with Starchild Comics. And we got everything done with that, got the website up and everything, started running the social media. So I did get approached by another artist who had already completed his comic, and he had a zombie comic. So I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be great. we got 4 superhero comics and a zombie comic as our first 5 issues of a brand new comic company. How exciting is that? I couldn't ask for anything else. And this guy was like, he had it completed, lettering, art. He did everything himself, had sent it to me. I looked at it. It was a good comic. It was very solid. Storytelling wasn't as distinct as something like what we put together, because we used, like I say, the 3-act structure, but it was still solid. It would work for a comic. So I was excited. And we went into negotiations of getting everything done and getting it on board and bringing it into our stable of comics. And at the last minute, the guy went ghost. And I was like, hey, I sent you the contract. Where are you? 2 or 3 days passed by and he finally got back to me. And he already knew the terms, but he wanted to change them. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to need X amount of dollars now for my story, because I'm not going to push anything. I'm just handing it off to you. So you have to pay me for that. And you need to still send me a royalty for every comic you sell.
It's like, we're not even there. You're not George R.R. Martin yet.
Thank you. Nobody knows about this story. What are you talking about? I told my wife, and I was sad about it, and she was like, well, we're not doing that, So I wrote him back, told him, thanks,
respectfully.
But no thanks. Yep. Respectfully. And it was funny because the way he sent me the email, he was like, but you're not going to do all of that, are you? And I said, no, you're actually right. Thank you for your time.
You made it hard for me. We want to support. Yeah.
So I'm all depressed. I'm sitting around. I'm like, oh, no zombies. Well, we'll just work with what we have. And I remember I heard God kind of say, Braxton, you are a creator. If you want a zombie comic, you can make your own zombie comic, And it was kind of this reminder that I had Broken sitting out here in the wind, I was finishing up Broken. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I had my own Asher. So I just need to write my storyline. So then that's when I kind of met Rom, and Rom was like, hey, I got this, I got that, he sent me all these images, and I'm like, oh, this would actually work with Broken. Oh man. So then I told him, I said, hey, let me finish up the script, So I got the script finished up and I sent it to him. And I had about maybe half of it done. And when he asked for his test page, I sent him the page 1 test page. And when he nailed it, I'm like, I got so excited,
It's
It helped to motivate me to finish it. Yeah.
It took despair,
right,
and disappointment, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Things got revealed to you, and it's
absolutely.
And I think that's brilliant, because now you don't have all those strings that kind of attached. Not that you actually work with other creators, so how that works. But now it's sort of like, you know what? I can kind of turn this in a little bit, back into Braxton. This is going to be Braxton again, but it's like you can have a little bit more control over the way that the storytelling is going to be.
Absolutely.
And I think it fell into place. It's a great story. It really did.
it really fell into place. And it's just, it's a message from me as a creative to other creators, like, hey, you don't have to be limited. I mean, at the end of the day, especially when you're a writer, you can come up with your own ideas all the time. You don't have to, you don't have to be, like, say, handcuffed to anybody. We'll go and decide, hey, you don't want to hand over that building. We'll go build our own, kind of a thing. So, and quite honestly, the story is better than the one he was going to give.
You don't have to be, I guess he's not watching this show, but it's
he's not.
No, but the thing is, though, it's like you mentioned it. It's like you're a talented writer in your own right, so you know how things get, and you were probably going to have to do a little bit of work to get it to be palatable to like a novel or and so. Yeah, so you didn't have to worry about that. So it's good that you were able to do that. So again, a blessing in disguise. It kind of lit a fire under you to like say, hey, you know what? I can kind of be a little bit introspective. I can think and say, hey, you know what? I got something that's here already. Right. You can still do that zombie book. But yeah, I think that's so cool. And maybe it'd be kind of neat if he was watching. I'd love for him to kind of say, it's like, I had this opportunity with Cosby and Starchild, and look, I could have been working with Rom, and Braxton, and, but you know what? Who knows? You may have not worked with Rom because it pushed you.
Bottom line, absolutely,
to go in a different direction.
Absolutely.
So, okay, all right. So I'm trying to draw, but I can't. You make it hard for me to draw. Go ahead. I don't know. I'm going to let you kind of like dictate where this conversation is going. Go ahead, and anything else you want to talk about, zombies, or if you want to talk more about Broken, it's up to you. What else would you like to do? Yeah.
I think one thing I do want to talk about in Broken, I think at its roots, it's still a young adult novel. You know what I mean? Yeah. We've had to try to force Kisa to grow up very quickly because of all the circumstances that she's been under, but she's still a young adult. So, there's still that little budding romance story that comes with young adult stories. It's still a coming of age story. It's still about her growth and her journey and her being a surrogate mom to her little brother. So you're going to get all these fantastic elements that come with what it's expected with young adult stories, but you're also going to get this fantastic backdrop of this dystopian world turned upside down, and all of these desperate measures that the characters are being thrown into, and how they respond to it. A lot of unique storytelling, and I think that's something that I've tried to consistently do with all of my stories. Is that yes, you can argue that the Star-Crossed Saga was somewhat, even from the title, you can tell star-crossed lovers kind of a thing, where it might be like a modern day Romeo Juliet in a sci-fi world. But how we run with that and the spin that is put on that, and actually Starchild comics came from the Star-Crossed Saga, because there are star children in it. So everything just kind of birthed, and everything's just so kind of connected in what we're doing with Cosby Media Production and Starchild. So I do want to give a shout out to all of our fantastic authors who've done a great job with their world and trusting us to bring their superhero worlds together. Because when I jumped into writing their superhero stories, was really almost like a joke. Kyle Champion was writing Majesties of Canaan, and I was like, I'm going to just try to make the most crazy superhero story I can about people with flaws who just inherit powers overnight, and what would that look like, And then as I started crafting the story and the outline, I was like, this is actually really, really unique. This is really good. Like, I'm excited, And so, but my initial objective was to get young men to read,
I know I love that, because I think that's, especially in this day of social media and everybody's tied to their iPhone or their Android, or it's, unfortunately, reading has kind of like dropped by the wayside. Spurring imagination has kind of dropped by the wayside. And I like that you're tapping a market that needs to be encouraged. Absolutely. To like pick up a book. Absolutely. But yeah, keep on going.
Yeah. So I wanted to get young men to read, and my thing was, hey, if they don't want sci-fi, they don't want fantasy, what about superheroes? And right around the timing was crazy, because right around when I started crafting the Cape is when Marvel really launched out with the movies and the Marvel, cinematic universe. So it was something that kids were really attracted to. And then we started going to conventions and having the novels available for them to pick up. And it's always interesting because like kids will come to the table with their parents and they'll look at the superhero novel and say, hey, and they go, are there any pictures in it? Oh, nope, just novel, just a story. And you can see the parent like, I mean, if you want it, I'll buy it for you. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
And the kid is like, no, I want some pictures, So we're like, oh, striking out. And then it came down to, okay, well, when we really started looking as a team to get these comics off the ground, I mean, to get the novels continually to build an audience. Hey, well, novels will do that. I mean, comics will do that. If they want imagery, when they come to the table, they'll see these comics. If they really like the comics, then they'll come back and get the novels. We'll make it easier for them when they take it with them. They can go ahead and just use that QR code and pick up that book at a later date. Now, you don't get the autograph from the author, but you at least get the novels,
I like that. It's that hybrid approach. It's like I'm going to use that. It's not used in a very positive way, but people say it's that gateway drug. It's that gateway drug that's a positive drug. This is the drug that stimulates creativity. It's the drug that stimulates the endorphins to make you imagine. It, makes you think. And if you have that stellar artwork that's on your novels, now you also, it's like, hey, this is the book, but we got a comic book too. Right. Read the comic book, and maybe that'll make you want to read the novel too. I think it's a great strategy. And speaking about the strategy, you said it was kind of a joke that kind of like a dare type thing. It's like, hey, I've never drawn comic books. You recognize there's this need, and you have a kid with his parent coming to your table. So with this light bulb just go off in your head. It's like, I got to do this. I'm going to form Starchild, just to do this. Was it something that was it epiphany like at that moment, or was this something that gestated for a couple years?
Well, it was there. I think after a couple of conventions, I was like, man, we got to get something for kids. So we actually came up with these superhero cards, like I call them power cards, where we have like 4 of the characters from the Cape. I had these made, and on the back they were like, their superpowers and their bonuses and stuff. So I kind of like, like if kids want to do those fighting cards, the little trading cards, those things, they could actually use our cards. I try to use the same tools, and I was using that. I was like, hey, look at these power cards. Kids come and say, well, now what about the novel? I just buy the power cards. So they wanted to buy the card, so I couldn't get them to do it. And then the comics, like the comic was there in the back of my head. I'm like, man, like where do you begin? And I just met so many great indie creators who were doing comics at these conventions, and they seem to be quite successful. I was like, man, we got to do that. We got to jump in, So I kind of assembled the team of all the other authors who had the superhero novels who I thought would be interested in it. And they were like, yeah, we want to do it, So they jumped in, and all of our comics, I'm just so proud of because the quality is really, really there. And I don't feel like we're putting out junk, and we're not putting out something that people feel like, they're going to waste their time, because they're actually going to get great artwork, and they're going to get really solid stories too, because it was written by authors first and not somebody else's interpretation of the work. These are the authors themselves who have already started these stories. And so the authenticity is there, and so they're not going to miss a beat by actually jumping in and reading these comics.
I like that because, my impression of you is definitely a multi-talented creator, but just the creator goes from a business perspective. You recognize there's a void that could be, I'm going to use the word exploited, but like I said, it's exploited in a good way. You're actually figuring out a way to encourage, reading and be able to say, hey, you know what? There's a great business opportunity here where it can be an extension of what you're already doing. It's not like you're reinventing the wheel. It's just figuring out how to expand, get your hands in different areas and tell that story. And you're responsive. It's like, hey, we're going to talk a little bit about that later on, but I'm just impressed with the story in terms of the evolution. We'll hint to that, talking about the evolution of Cosby and media productions, and of course going into Starchild. But the time has expired, and I've been like focusing on what Braxton's been talking about, but we're gonna like show what Rom has drawn. So I'm gonna maximize that right now. And we've been, our audience, you've been seeing it, but I actually did not get a chance to really look at it. I had to like watch it after the show on demand because I can't see the magic happening live. Here, let me go. I'm gonna maximize this right now. So Rom, here we go. And we're gonna make this real big. And for some reason, my computer is not making it big. Oh, there we go. Here we go. There we go. Look at that. Oh, Rom, I am scared. I'm just totally scared. Rom, can you zoom in? Can you zoom in and let's look at this crazy, like it's coming for you. This zombie is wanting your brain. Oh my God, his eyes even hanging out.
Right.
Gosh. Rom, awesome. I need to learn what awesome is in Portuguese and just tell you.
Thank you, man.
What it is. Braxton, you want to talk about this? Because I'm speechless.
I mean, it's great. Like Kisa's here, and you got the Astra's been ripped from its body.
Yes.
I love the eyeball hanging out. I think that is so dope,
Okay, so maybe this might be the beginning of like maybe something that could be in a future issue. I just realized that Kisa has basically eviscerated or basically took the zombie, cut him in half.
Right.
So it's almost like he's not coming for you. He's actually like running away from Kisa.
Right.
I think this is just brilliant. I would love to see this actually become a finished piece of art. This shows Rom's, not only is he talented, he can add a little bit of humor to his. He has a little bit of a comic appeal, comedy appeal to this, but just brilliant. I love it. I love it so much. All right, so let me get into some of the comments here. I actually didn't see it during the show, but Sarah, who's always been on our show, she's basically one of our audience members who hardly misses the show. She really draws along with us. Yo guys, how are you doing? I can't speak for Braxton and Rom, but I am on cloud 9. I feel like I'm getting an inside perspective in terms of what these creators do. And she also says, I do my reading from games and comics to learn languages. It's a fun way to learn a language. That's right. I was going to give some props out to Sarah. Sarah is Egyptian, and she's learning Japanese. Wow. I mean, you can't get. I mean that dichotomy. I don't know what the correct word is for that, but Braxton, you can correct me. But I'm saying cool. That she loves anime. She loves the Disney style, but she's learning. She's so into anime and manga that she said, you know what, I'm going to learn Japanese, and I have much respect for her. I wish I could learn Japanese.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so Sarah, draw along with us. We have one more drawing challenge that's going to be coming up. We got to see Rom's interpretation of an Asher zombie from the comic Braxton. The comic Braxton. You're going to have to name a character called Braxton. Broken. The comic is Broken, and it features zombies. So here we have, actually, this is a great illustration. You see Kisa on one side, you see Asher zombie on the right-hand side. So brilliant work. So let me check our sister page and see if anybody in the art show drew along with us. I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully somebody did. And my connection is really slow. Let's see, refresh. And unfortunately, I think everybody's still sleeping. So we got one more drawing challenge that's coming up, and I would love for everybody to kind of like, let's get some, let's show some love to our creators and do that. Before we do that, let me share my screen, and I'm gonna have to say that I went with the cliche zombie. I didn't do anything clever or comical that like Rom did. So let me share that real quick. And here we go. Add that to the stream. And let me minimize this. Too many buttons. All right, so there's my zombie.
Great.
So I have to tell you that I don't draw. Thank you so much. I don't draw enough zombies. There's not enough zombies in my life that I need to like. I think it's kind of fun. I kind of gave her a little bit of a dislocated jaw, and I had to tell you, it's more like Creepshow zombie. It looks like she's coming to you. And I almost wanted to add the flakes that you were talking about, where some skin is flaking off it. But I did try and do a little exposed brain here, but it was too far up. So I might have to revisit that. But anyway, that was my fun approach at trying to do a zombie. And I'm gonna have to say that Rom and Braxton, you've opened my eyes to the artistry that goes into zombies. Gonna have to explore that. So that being said, one last look at this great artwork. I'm so looking forward to seeing what Rom does with a third drawing challenge. Okay, so that being said, we are moving into the latter. We're getting closer to the end here in our third drawing challenge, and this is where we're going to go a little bit backwards because I got so excited. I wanted to reveal Broken, but there's a rich foundation. There's a substantial. I'm going to say it's there's a ground floor that allowed Broken to become where it's at, and that is Cosby Media when they went to Starchild, that hybrid storytelling. There was a series of books, IPs that were done by individual creators, and the one that we're going to focus on right now is the one that Braxton came up with. Now, I have no knowledge. I have zero knowledge about this. So I'm going in here fresh, not knowing what they're about. And I know that he's going to he's going to give us an elevator pitch that's going to blow my mind in terms of what it is. And that IP is called The Cape. Now, I was looking at it, I was like, The Cape. That is just so open. We talk about the stereotypical things, and everybody thinks, oh, Superman, Batman, capes. Who could forget that really funny line in The Incredibles where Edna Mole? I think that was whoever their costume designer. She was saying, no capes. I can't even do her accent, but she was saying no capes. And then they did that little visual montage, and they sort of showed the reason why capes could be bad because they can get stuck in propeller blades. They're easy for villains to grab. But I have to say that I think Braxton has come up with a novel approach to what Cape is about. So let me share one screen. I'm going to give a little bit of some visual aids, and then I'm going to let before we get to the drawing challenge to let Braxton talk about it. So let me unshare this real quick, and I'm going to share the PDF that I had built earlier and put that up on the screen. Feel like I have to announce everything that I do because that'll make up for my slow to click on every button that I need. All right, so here we go. We got the cape, and I'm going to show. Let's actually do this. This is we'll share that for after we do the live drawing. These are the characters. There are 3 characters in the cape. This, I believe, is Blur. Is that correct?
Yep.
This is Thief. Is that correct? And this is Paladin. So kudos to me. I remembered.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so let's do, if you want to draw along with us, do screen captures right now. So here, Paladin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do your screen capture. This is Thief. All right, do a screen capture if you want to do Thief. And here is Blur. And I have to say, I like Blur. Well, out of them, but I'm a little biased. She is attractive. But here we go. We got Blur here, and you notice she's the only one who has a cape, and I am curious about that. But so here we have. If you want to draw these characters, now you don't have to draw all 3. You can just pick one if you want to. You could do action poses or whatever. We're going to learn about who these characters are, because I'm going to have to say this is your opportunity. Braxton, to sell this IP, so people are going to buy all the books that are on your site. So we're going to share that site. All right. Nice. So again, here we got Blur. Here we got Thief, and here we got Paladin. All right. So the clock is going to start right now, and I'm going to put the mic back in your hands, and I'm going to make I'm going to make Rom's screen main so we can see him draw too. So the mic is in your hands. The clock is ticking right now. So have at it. It's your turn to talk, Braxton.
Right. So, okay. So the Cape, the year is 2035, city of Chicago. Crime is 10 times as worse than it is right now.
It's pretty bad in Chicago.
You can imagine.
So that's That's even worse. I'm about to say it's no longer 99%. It's just 100% crime. But keep on going.
It's 10 times as bad. Like every time I tell people to study, go 10 times. I'm like, yeah, it's 10 times. We gotta really push this out there. We gotta we gotta really raise the stakes. This storm comes to the city one day, and anybody who gets caught in the storm actually wakes up the next day with superpowers. Some use them for good, some for evil. Two groups form. One is called the Capes, all the heroes. They kind of band together and say, hey, we're going to be superheroes. We're going to take care of the city, protect it. And another group is called Dark Phase, kind of the anti-heroes. And every now and then they kind of run into each other in the streets and they fight and somebody gets picked off. And then the bad thing is, Jarrell, if you woke up one day and you have superpowers and you go out there and you try to start running and doing all that stuff, if you get caught by one of them, they'll ask you, hey, well, what group are you affiliated with? You know? And if you have like bad kind of thing, vibes going and you run into the heroes, they'll kill you. If you think you're going to use your powers for good, you run into Dark Phase, they'll kill you. So it's kind of becomes this fear of actually saying who you are. So people can actually go into hiding. Unless they're recruited by one of the groups. And then we get the numbers down to like 6 on each side, and they kind of make a secret truce. Hey, you guys stay on your side, we'll stay on ours. We don't have to deal with each other anymore. It is what it is. One day, the city actually adopts the heroes, said, hey, we need you all to help fight crime for us. We're going to put you up in high rises. We're going to give you guys endorsements, everything. Take care of you. All we ask you, take care of the city. And the one rule you cannot do is you cannot harm a human. So in our world as CMP DSU, we have normals, which are human, and we have super normals, which are superheroes. So you can't harm a normal. Well, one day, Thief, the most powerful superhero out of all the capes, which basically means if he gets within 100 yards of you, he can actually absorb your powers. He can match you. He doesn't take your powers from you, but he can match exactly what you did. So you imagine if he was around Superman, he would have all of Superman's powers. He comes on live TV and admits to not only harming a normal, but he actually murders one.
What? This sounds horrible.
Yes. So he admits to this murder. So the whole first book turned into a whodunit kind of murder mystery, because then Paladin comes along and says, hey, I don't think he really did that. There's a reason behind it. Thief goes missing shortly after that confession, and now the entire city is on this manhunt to find him. You got Dark Phase wanting to recruit him. You got the Capes trying to kill him because he's messing up their gig, and you got the authorities wanting to bring him to justice, and you've got Paladin trying to be the detective to figure this all out. So obviously I won't spill the beans on how all that comes together, but you've also got this little bit of a cat and mouse story that happens between Blur and Paladin as well, along with Thief. So there's kind of a little triangle going on there too. So it gets really, really crazy and hectic. And what I love about the story is the mix of the reality. TV made it like real, because the city is covered in these drones. These drones just fly around all day, really to kind of capture the exploits of the heroes. If they beat or they stop a crime, or they get a cat from a tree. And then all of that video footage goes to this place in the city, a hub, where it's cut and edited. And there's a TV show at the end of the day called The Night Watch. So basically we get like a 30-minute reality story on these heroes. Well, the ratings had been dropping because they were like stopping crime. There's no more crime. So all you're doing is just seeing a hero fly around. Who wants to see that? But now the ratings have skyrocketed because of this escalation of figuring out that Thief now is on the move, and everybody wants to see what happens every day now with this story advancing. So really, really came out great. I was really proud of it. I think the story was unique. It was really cool, and making it relevant with the mix of reality TV made it unique.
Yeah. So wait, I was trying to keep up while I was like trying to figure out what I'm going to be drawing. So did I miss the part where you talked a little bit about what the cape, meaning behind that? Did I miss that?
So the cape, So the cape essentially it's like the glass shield. You know, the police force has it. It's their shield. It's their badge. You know, if you talk about a football team, it's going to be, you know, their insignia in the middle of the field. You know, you have to respect that, like the star for Dallas. So the concept is at all above all else, you have to protect the cape. You have to protect the idea of the cape, how significant this is. You know, basically that is sacred, you know. So that's what this is about. The cape is sacred. And now you've got this incident with this powerful hero who is now infringing upon the sanctity of the cape. So that was the whole point of the story, is that and it is mandated in the beginning of the story that all the heroes wear capes so that we can designate who's the hero and who's not.
Interesting.
And then that gets, you know, a little bit of a change towards the end too. So this is actually the book, and you don't have to zero in on. I guess people can just kind of catch it.
Here,
this
actually,
is book 1.
Okay, let me zoom in. Hold on one second. There we go. All right, there you go.
So as you see, the cover is actually a cape, you know, and the symbol on there, the kind of the logo is above all else, protect the truth. That and the picture of the field with David bending the bar of iron. That's pretty much it with the wings. So that's, and it's in the top of it says, in the city of masked heroes, darkness hides the truth. So there's a lot that goes on with that because, you know, our heroes are very flawed, you know, so the whole thing of just because they're heroes, they're perfect is totally out the window. All my heroes are just regular people who just happen to get powers and they've got a lot of issues, you know.
Well, that's true, because, you know, it's sort of like if everybody was perfect, it's like, why would I want to read it? Because I can't relate to, I cannot relate to that, you know.
Absolutely not.
You
know?
And I think that too, what you're talking about, I like now that I learned what the cape means. It's like the BPRD, you know, in Hellboy, you know, the Bureau of Paranormal,
right.
What is it? Paranormal resource. I don't remember what BPRD is. Yeah, there you go. All right, and so the cape is that. It's something that's sacred. It represents something that's
a symbol.
A symbol. Yeah. All right. So it's not literally the cape, even though, you know, you showed the cover of that, but it's symbolic. So not every
exactly.
And, so that's pretty neat. So
and book 2 was insane. Book 2 is the Cape Overdrive. And that basically, as you see that asteroid that's at the top of the screen on the cover.
You know, yeah, let me actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let we're actually going to solo you out for this particular drawing challenge. Let me put you out there. That'll give Rom some chance to like. I see that he's still drawing some of his characters. So I'm gonna put the camera on you, and I'm gonna give I'm gonna put a little pressure on you here, so you can show any of these covers and talk more about it. Yeah. So go ahead. So go ahead, fill us in. Let us know everything about the cape that isn't spoilery.
So this is Cape Overdrive, and basically you got the 3 heroes here united. So you want to see how everything plays out in book 1, but in book 2, that asteroid is on its way. It's a collision course with Earth, and it's about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, but it's made of nothing but pure elements like precious stones. You got diamonds, you got gold, you got platinum, you got rubies, everything. That's all this is. So imagine that the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, and it's on a collision course with Earth. And this thing is worth $1 quintillion. Do you know how much that is, Jarrell?
That's $1 quintillion. I'm gonna pull a quote from Austin Powers. I'm gonna say 11 trillion billion. I don't know, but that sounds astronomical. I was gonna say Elon Musk wants to get that asteroid. You know?
He can, yes. And trust me, everybody would want this asteroid. It's the number 1 with 14 zeros behind it.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
Right.
So keep on going. Yeah.
So imagine if any third world country got their hands on it, you know, you'd have a superpower overnight with that much, you know, money and value. So, and resources. So basically, the United States commissions the capes once they actually get my brain froze on a number. Once the capes actually they find out the trajectory of where it's going to land, the United States actually commissions the capes. They put together this shuttle that can actually contain it. And they say, hey, when it lands, we need you to go to this spot, take that asteroid, cool it down, put it back on the ship, and then send it into the sun. Well, obviously, every country now is vying to this one spot because they all want to get their hands on it. So it becomes this amazing kind of battle where the capes are running back and forth, trying not to hurt anybody because they understand that these humans, why they want it, you know, these normals, but at the same time, they have to defend it. And because it is a superhero story, there's some antagonists that have been kind of vying for the capes in the beginning of the book. So they even come to the dance at the end. So it gets really, really crazy. But I was trying to capture this amazing set piece in the storyline where you just got tanks and planes and heroes and antagonists and villains and all of them just kind of colliding. What would that look like? And at the end of the day, yes, we still got to get this asteroid back into space. So I think the second book was just crazy. It was all out action, even beyond everything that happened in the first book. And it gave me a good chance to kind of really show off the powers and how these guys work as a team with their powers. So a lot of great escalation moments in that book. So yeah, I think Overdrive came out really, really cool.
I think Overdrive is kind of understatement. I was just listening to your description, and I was like, it's one thing, you did the 3 novels, and it's so interesting to hear you did these 3 novels. You can write with reckless abandon, not knowing how this could be visually interpreted. I would hate to be that artist that has to go, I got to do this all-out war scene with like hundreds of tanks and like airplanes and like nations all battling, and then you got to throw in superheroes. And I'm like, wait, maybe there's some zombies in here. I don't know, but I'm just saying that it's like, what do you do? It's like, so let's talk a little bit about that. You've given a brief, synopsis of what the Cape is about and this whole scenario that these superheroes have to deal with. Now that you had to do this comic, so you want to talk a little bit about that artist and how how you had to do what you did with Rom, in terms of trying to find that perfect artist to like interpret your vision. You want to talk about
so that was Bruno Abadas. That was somebody referred to me, like I told you, by Tyler, the animator. And I got in contact with him and I asked him to send me some sketches, and his stuff just was amazing as well. And so I thought it would definitely work with my art, with my style of what I was putting in these panels. And as much as I do, Jarrell, I heard you kind of touch on it earlier, talking about the worm's view. Panels are not just about top left corner, I need them fighting. Like, you have to detail this thing out. You need to let the illustrators know exactly what you're doing. You need to know camera angles. And Bruno did an amazing job. I would tell him like the angle that we're shooting from, and he would just kind of go with his interpretation of it and really do a great, an amazing job of bringing that home. And between Rom, Bruno, and even Marcelo and the team from Fancy Art Studios, every time I kept seeing the pages come in my mind, because I read everybody's scripts, I thought they were going above and beyond what the expectation of what we did as authors, looking at these panels, in these pages. So a lot of artistry. I feel like we recruited artists first, not just comic artists, because you could see like the pages look like art, and they weren't afraid to kind of stretch themselves a little bit, where, a character may be hanging a little bit partially outside of the panel. They weren't confined to just being, this 4-block structure kind of thing. But I did a lot with Broken, kind of pushing Rom, where a lot of the perspectives change. I had floor up shots, top down shots, wide, shoulder up kind of things to really kind of draw on the emotional parts. And a good thing that both Bruno and Rom did is they would storyboard. They kind of gave me an idea. Like, I could see all of the pages up front from the 22 pages and say, okay, yeah, I see this action does correlate with what I wrote and constructed on the script. And then they just do a great job of storyboarding. And so I'd see it and go, yep, okay, that's going to work. And then they would send it back and then start working on it. But Bruno, he did a great job on this cover. You see, we got Thief there, we got Paladin, and we have Blur in the center. And in the back, we have our antagonist, who is called Ghazi. And Ghazi has been introduced into this storyline because, again, this picks up right after the events in Infinity 7. And Ghazi is a real bad mother, shut your mouth. And so I was really happy with how Ghazi came across. And Ghazi is going to be here for a while. So, this is Cape Hellfire. So you can imagine some of the ideas that might be going into that book. And what we did with our design of our comics that I'm really, really proud of is we tried to give everybody a different identity with the comics. Most of them have the Infinity 7 insignia on the back. But the art styles are so different. Like Bruno just has a different kind of art style that he draws with. And as you see here, he did an amazing job on the panels on this and this is like the middle of the comic. So I was like, wow, this really was great time. And at the middle of the comic opens up like this because
wow. Yeah.
When people open up the comic, they automatically go to like the middle and they see this and they go, whoa, so this was like insane, the amount of, and I love his use of color because Bruno did everything. He did the illustration, he did the color, and he does the lettering as well. So this is all his package, but he did an amazing job. He even helped me with the design of the Space Pirates because I kind of came up with some, and he brought in this character on this one here, and then this guy in the back here that they have to the capes have to clash with them at some point in the story. And then what we did with Marcelo, with Menzuo, we went with the wraparound cover, kind of the classic kind of X-Men, where you see the front and the back is all one story.
Yes.
In Menzuo, and I just love it. I think it's just beautiful. It's amazingly done, and it gives people a lot of stuff to look at. And if they get a little peek here at some of the panel work that Marcelo did with right here. This is one of my favorite sequences with the blur effect and Menzuo kind of fighting against these giants in the story.
Yeah, and just to give everybody a preview is that I actually was supplied some of these art pages, panels that from so I'm going to actually show digital versions of these after, but I like that you're showing them right now because I would like to just hear you give some you can give further context when we show it, but I wanted you to. I'm glad that you're doing that right now. And just to let everybody know, we have 1 more minute to draw, and so Rom, 1 more minute, and then we're gonna finish up this last live drawing. So, but yeah,
and this is Bark Power Struggle by Daniel Payton. And again, that's Fantasy Art Studios here in Atlanta who did his work. So it has more of a cartoony vibe and a feel to it, which is the type of artwork that Daniel wanted. So you can see a lot of emotion in here with Bark and the character. So he has like this nice little political kind of resistance that's going on where the big political group is trying to control everything while Bark is still trying to do the right thing, plus fight off these the villains that are in the story as well. So I kind of liked it because it was almost like a little bit of the establishment trying to control everything and having their own agenda with trying to police what's going on in the world with the heroes.
So would you say that with Bark, it's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek too, in terms of like he's bringing a little bit of political cartoonness or to it a little bit?
Yeah.
So I like that the range of the storytelling that we have at Starchild and at Cosby Media, because it's not like they all exist in the same universe, but they bring something different to the table. All of them bring something different to the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then this is the last one here, Jarrell, which is Metatron. This was our final comic that we had done.
Yeah, in fact, I got a slew of questions I wanted. Well, actually, I have a lot of questions about a lot of these things, but I couldn't help but get a little bit of the Raiden vibes. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. That's what he did. Absolutely. When he wanted to design this character, because through the novels, Metatron goes through a good progression of different kind of looks. And this last one, he was like, "Look, man, I want kind of a Matrix / Raiden feel," and I was like, "Oh, we can give you that. The artist can do it. So. Yeah, Marcelo killed it when he came out with this look,
Yeah, I had to say that, like I said, I'm a big fan of even back during Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know if you saw that movie.
Yes, that's my age group.
Yeah, totally. So you and I could have conversations about 80s geeks stuff. But yeah, look at these pages. And you know what? I'm glad you're showing these because I don't have all of these to show. But
the use of color, Marcelo's colors are really, really nice. He has this nice soft glow. And I know you really can't, tell here, but man, and like the glow that is on the page when you get them in your hand is just so amazing. This luminescence that he has, this softness in his color palettes is really, really cool.
I think that's, it may not be 100% clear, but I'm going to just say that is all the more reason. The only way you can get it clear is to buy the book.
That's right.
Gotta buy the book. All right, so time is expired. Let me unsolo you here. Thank you so much for occupying the cam while we were drawing, because I think we were both Rom and I were like still drawing, so I wanted to give him an opportunity to get some more his pencils down. So here, let me minimize this, and I'm going to share. Hold on one second. I'm going to share his screen. And so, Rom, here we go. All right, let's check this out.
Oh, man. He got all three of them in there.
Can you zoom in? You got to zoom in. Rom showing everybody up. He didn't just do one. He didn't do just two. He did three. Is that right? Let's see what. Now, this is rough. This is still rough, but I already get a feeling for how this is going to look.
That's Thief and Paladin and blurs in the back.
Yeah. Braxton, you want to talk about this? I mean, what's your impression?
I mean, I'm seeing Thief in the front here, and Thief's got the little T horn, the red T horn that's on the top of his cowl, which is really really cool. And I'm excited because in the evolution of his character, is eventually he's going to get bigger, like this real kind of like this dramatic T is. You gotta make your heroes kind of evolve with their costumes.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon. He's going to get to that next level. He's going to keep on evolving.
Right.
But
I like what he's doing with Paladin here.
Yeah, that looks great. I can. It's so. This is what I love about the show, is because when you can see, even if it's just we're just giving our audience a taste, just a little taste of like what our guests' talents are, and even though this isn't finished, just seeing where it's at, like right now, you can almost see it in your mind, filling in the blanks. Now that we've seen some of Rom's other artwork, the energy is there, the composition is there. It's just a matter of filling it out, making it work. While we have this up here, let me go ahead and look at the comment field. Let's see what people have said since we were there. Let's see. So we got Sarah, who wrote in here. This probably was right before we get into this live drawing. She said, "Yeah, the show got earlier. It's always after my Japanese class." Yeah, we had to like try and figure out our schedule so she can be a part of it. You guys basically start in the middle of my class and I take 20 minutes to come back home. Okay, that's no problem, Sarah. You can always draw along at your own pace and at your own leisure. So I do appreciate that. What else we got here? Sarah also mentions, by the way, I learned Japanese to work in translation. Not sure if that is sure in what exactly. Recently I am thinking about anime localization in Arabic. It's becoming mainstream by the day. That's great. We need people to see people's artwork, and who knows, when you're ready to make that jump to Egypt with your comics, with Starchild, and of course your novels, maybe you might need to talk to Sarah. She can help you with the translation.
Hey, I love it. That'd be great.
We got Death, who's another great friend of mine. He said he wished he could draw along, but earlier he said he liked and followed you. So you already got at least one fan.
Very cool. That's
going to be able to follow you. Death is a talented artist. Here we got, let's see, what else we got? Oh, I think Sarah might have drawn. She said she did a last minute upload. So let me refresh the page. 1 second. Oh, we got a little bit of echo. So if you're listening, you might want to like mute your mic or turn off the audio. Do you I don't know who's that's coming from. Okay, here we go.
There it is.
Okay, you got it. Okay, here we go. Sarah also mentioned something. She said, by the way, I like the idea of a detective story within a superhero setting. It's a new idea on the superhero concept. So there you go, Braxton.
Yeah.
Breaking some. Here we go. Awesome. Oh, we went from great to awesome. So I think we're gonna run out of descriptive words, to go along with everything. So let me go to our art show page. We did get Sarah did draw along. So Sarah is our lone contributor. Let me go ahead and get that ready to show. And share this. Hold on one moment. All right, so we're going to put Rom, we're gonna have to put your camera in the background for a second. So let me share one more screen. And here we go. And this is Sarah. And I believe she did. I believe she did. This is Thief, right? Is that correct? Or
very
is this Paladin?
cool, Sarah.
Yeah, I love and see. Sarah's been really trying to like add action poses to her drawing style, and I think she was definitely inspired by the artwork that you provided to me, and did this. Looked at it and 15 minutes able to do that. So
love it.
I have to commend you, Sarah. Great advancement in terms of like integrating action poses into your repertoire. So it's really nice to see that. So again, if anybody wants to draw along, let me know in the comment field. We're going to be wrapping up the show pretty soon.
And if they want to post and tag us, we would definitely reshare it on social media as well.
Absolutely. We will definitely do that. So while we're good, going to go into the last part of the show, let me show you, I guess, my drawing real quick. Where's my camera? Did I share screen? And here we go. All right, so here we go with my interpretation of I couldn't resist. I had to do blur. So
love it.
So here's blur.
I
of course I didn't really know what her powers were. Thank you so much. But I just wanted to do this action pose where she's like flying at you.
She's a speedster, so she can do that.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure. Like it looks like she flies, but with a name like Blur, I assumed she was a speedster.
Yeah.
And I almost was gonna do like this running pose type thing, but I ended up making it look more like she's kind of like flying. I don't know. It could be kind of running too.
But they get to a point in the story where they're running so fast that they pretty much are flying. As a speedster, because her powers just continue to get better and better and better. So yeah. So you nailed that. I love that. That looks great.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And it's always nice to get a blessing from the actual creator. So I'm on cloud nine. Been on cloud nine this whole time. So it was really a pleasure to interpret the character. All right. So let me stop sharing this real quick, and I'm going to. And you know what, Rom? When you want to finish this drawing, I hope you do, because I want to see it. I already. It looks so good. I kind of don't even want to take it off the screen. I can put this in the background and see you keep on working on it.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to share that with me, or share it with I'll share it with the audience if you would share it with me, and later on I'll post it. Love to see what you do with it. Who knows? It could be actually a pinup in a future issue of the Cape.
Right.
So really, really cool stuff. So let me minimize this. And now we have all our faces real nice and big here. So I'm going to move myself to the bottom. Oh, how did I? Let me put myself here and get wrong. There we go. All right. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit more about you already talked about Starchild and Cosby Media. You mentioned that these other titles. Now I was looking up, and you were while you were kind of showing those individual issues. I don't know if you've exhausted everything that you could possibly tell about them, but I want to give our audience an opportunity to see some of the pages that you provided to me. You gave me the covers and 2 sequentials that went along with them. So we can just breeze right through them.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to add if you want to add any more to it. I don't know, but I just feel like it'd be doing a disservice if I didn't talk about the other people that are on your team.
Please,
you have quite the Avengers lineup, and these are superstars in their own right, and it's nice to see it because actually let me shut up. Let me go ahead and put that screen up there, and I have some commentary that I would love to talk about these individual ones. So here we go. Let me add this to the stream. All right, so let's start with Bark.
Yes.
All right, so you mentioned this as a more cartoon, like a looser cartoon comic style, not the hyper realistic or type stuff, but it shows the diversity of your talent pool. Here showing different, they exist in the same universe, but there's room for different styles.
Right.
So Bark obviously has kind of like a, you talked a little bit about it, but he is like a anthropomorphic kind of character. Is there any more that you want to add aside from like the political satire or whatever that has to go along with it?
Yeah, if you go with the political satire piece, it's kind of like the United Nations has handed over control of the International Defense Network to this man named Marshall Day, and he's basically just a bigot towards supernormals. You know, so you kind of have that intrigue, like the X-Men, where people were kind of hating on mutants and things like that. And they said the moment he takes control, the International Defense Network actually is disbanded, and supervillains across the world launch simultaneous attacks against high-profile targets to send panic and fear throughout the planet. You know, so you know, there's this whole kind of he has an ulterior motive for gaining control, just so he can kind of weaken the defense networks. And then so now Bark and his crew, I think that's Snow, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Bolt. Those guys have to kind of band together to not only bring order back to the IDN, but also to fight off some of these initial villains they run into early on in the comic.
And I have to say that this character design,
Isn't that cool?
I guess he's the main villain. I assume it's anthropomorphic, so I assume this is like he's like an elephant guy, right?
Yeah.
But it's so I had never seen like this kind of interpretation of a merging of an elephant and a man.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, obviously emphasis on the ears, but it's like it was recognizable, but it's like he looks like a total, you know, villain. You don't want to mess around with him, but it's just it was such a unique interpretation. And you hear action sequence, and you know, I look at this, and this is like you know, we had shown some other pages for Broken, and I'm just gonna like do a compare and contrast here. Great, I can already tell great storytelling, but the styles are so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that this is something that's appealing to a wider audience. You know, because maybe some people would, or some, especially when you're skewing this towards even like you know, older readers as well, because they can appreciate it. But younger readers, they're gonna like maybe gravitate to this style too, because it's fun, and I love the lettering effects, you know, with the pow and the kaboom and thwack. I mean, this is going to show is like, you know, I have to say that, you know, your studio definitely has their thumb on the pulse of every demographic that you want to reach. You know, you want to have people from all walks of life appreciate, you know, what you're putting out there. And this is fun, you know, has a nice fun, whimsical, but very, it's an indie comic, very professional. It's really great.
Thank you.
So let's go to I have the next one here. I have Menzuo.
Yeah.
And you know, again, look at this, different art styles. And you know, you mentioned this. Now I get to show this cover.
Yeah.
We get to see this blown up. This is, I think, you showed this, but of course it was on camera. So now we get to see this, the digital version of this. And OMG, look at that. It does have that. It reminds me of that classic. It's not classic. I guess it's classic from the '90s. You know, the Jim Lee gatefold X. You know, just the X-Men, not Uncanny, just regular X-Men from the '90s, and it had that fold-up cover.
Yeah.
This is a double page. You know, back and front, but it's epic. Great talent. Do you want to give a shout out to who the artist?
Oh yeah, that's Marcelo Salazar. He killed it. And again, he's also, he has a team that works on coloring and lettering as well. So it's a complete package with Marcelo. And he's from Brazil as well.
Man, Rom, Brazil represent. I can tell you, it's like there must be like I think you need to bottle the water in Brazil and send it out, because that way maybe I can drink the water and hopefully become a good artist, a better artist there. But here are some of the panels. I think these are two panels that you sent to me. I'm assuming these are a couple of your favorite panels.
They are. And what was crazy about this, so again, you know, people are the authors are kind of passing on we're kind of sharing our comics, you know, as far as these scripts. And then I remember Keyshawn got my comic script, and he had finished his, and he read the cape, and he was like, all right, I'm going back to the drawing board, man. Like, what you did was ridiculous. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, it was so good. So he went back and he reworked it. And then when I read his comic, I read it, and I didn't really get the gist until I saw the pages. And then in these pages, basically people turn to giants. And I said, and I already knew all of the lore with Menzuo, like all the other stuff he was fighting. So I said, Keyshawn, did you really have to bring giants in, man? He was like, listen, after what I saw you did with the cape, I had to go all out. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So so I wanted to show these giants in here.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to do extreme vertical panels.
Right.
And if you're going to do vertical, because it's especially when you do extreme, it's very narrow.
Absolutely.
And if you want to tell that story, and I have to say, I never want to do anything gimmicky with artwork for the sake of just a gimmick. There has to be an intention. There has to be a reason for why you do it. And the fact that they become giants, obviously that shows that verticality. There's a reason for that. But then the action is vertical.
Yeah.
It's showing either these, leaping up or throwing down.
That's right.
So it's great storytelling, I have to say. Really cool here. And then we have another page. And again, what I liked about this, you mentioned about telling your artists to break out of the panel configuration. You utilize the whole page as your canvas. You don't have to just be localized to the panel. Let's where it makes sense, bring it out. Have it break the panel or show in the background. This is an example. This is a prime example.
Over. Yeah, it bleeds over.
Yeah, and it adds that. I'm a big fan of Eric Larson's Spider-Man from the 90s. If you remember, he was one of the guys that broke panels left and right. And it was just so neat to see that action go beyond it. It added a three-dimensional feel. It made it feel like you were in the action.
Right.
And, I'm looking at this. Your colorist, great. We see lots of triangle compositions. I like how it moves your eye around it. And this is one of those things. It's like you look at this page and just great. The story, I want to read it, but from a composition standpoint, from a comic medium, well constructed page, and you got a great team. You've assembled great teams to tell the story. Let's keep on going. We're going to talk about Metatron, and like I said, big fan of Raiden and Big Trouble in Little China. These are some panels that we have here. Look at the energy. Great team. You have a great. And I find it so hard to believe. This is what I want to tell everybody. Okay, we didn't mention this, but I'm going to pull this stat. I circled this comment because I wanted to say this. 2012. This is when Cosby Media Productions came together and said, "We're going to do novels. We're going to do that novel thing." And then they said, "You know what? Let's just do comics." 2021. It's like, let's bookend it from 2012 to 2021. And we're going to do comics. And not only are we going to do comics, we're going to do more than one comics. We're going to do 4 comics. And I have to say, that's if that isn't ambitious, if that isn't inspiring, no one has any excuse when it comes to saying, you know what, I can't just do one. You got creators who are doing 4. And I guess this is a good time to mention in 2021 when you decided to do Starchild and launch these 4 titles. Actually, is it 4 or is it 5?
It's 4 and 5 will be broken. Yeah,
broken. Yes. Okay. So 2021. I think it was the campaign ran from May to June of last year. 4 comics, giving people an opportunity to see this visual medium that you were jumping into. Impressive here. Your goal was 10K. You raised 11K. Over 90 backers. From guys and gals, your whole studio who never done comics in their life.
Right.
And I don't know what kind of testament that is. That just shows, I don't know if maybe you're marketing gurus. I that could be it, but I look at the quality that's here. And now we have, we have the cape here. And these are, we saw this wonderful cover that you showed during, when we soloed you out here. Let's show some of these interior pages. Here's that worm's eye view that I love. It's good for that heroic standpoint where they're like, "Hey, I'm talking to you." He's pointing at you. You got Paladin and the Thief here, and then here we go. We have this. This is just great. It's very difficult. Again, I don't want to do gimmicks if I'm going to do a page. I'm not like a super accomplished sequential artist like your stable has here. But if I were to do one, if you're going to do a reason to do these kind of panels with this folding diagonal panel here,
Right.
it has to mean something. It can't
Right.
just can't be done for no reason. And
Right.
it emphasizes the action,
The speed,
moves
yeah.
your eye, and speed. Just really brilliant. You got a great eye for talent, and that's why you got Rom, to do Broken.
Absolutely.
And, I'm going to show. Actually, I think we showed all of the Broken pages here. So I'm just going to flash through these one more time because I want to give Rom your proper. You need to get proper recognition for your awesome artwork. We showed the colors. So let's actually zoom in here. I want to actually. We talked about the ink wash, the there's a little bit of a grungy feel here, with these splatters.
Yeah.
The high contrast, really the speed line is great. It's static, but it feels like it's speed. The speed line is static, and it's brilliant. I really love what you do, Rom. We have here some additional things. These are
thanks, man.
That's a cover number 2.
Yeah, so this is going to be a cover. So I am interesting. I thought this was maybe just a character sheet turnaround, to kind of show the factions. But to see that this is going to be a variant cover, I can't wait till you give this. I don't know if Julio is going to do the colors.
He did do the colors already.
Oh, he did. Okay,
I've seen it.
Oh, but you can't share it. Okay,
you got enough.
We got enough reveal. See what you keep on making me want to show more. Maybe later, we can do a thing where you can share it with me privately, so I can feel like I got a little bit of inside knowledge. But we will definitely, we're going to be a voice for you. So if you want to share it, we will share it on our page. We're more than happy to do an extension of this show. But yeah, Rom killed it. I'm just so excited to see, especially the Ashers, just a unique take on a zombie. Just very cool stuff. Here we got some more of the Ashers.
I've seen that one colored too. Oh my god!
Oh, quit doing that, man! You're making me it's like you've seen, you can't share. You're just being mean right now.
Well, I gotta give the Kickstarter people something to look forward to because they're gonna have an opportunity to get these variant covers. They're gonna order which cover they want with their comic.
Oh, okay,
comes out.
gotcha.
So yes, gotta give them.
Okay,
love.
You are master marketeer. I'm gonna say that there's a reason behind it, but you can still share it with me later.
I will.
Before you put it on the Kickstarter.
Right.
But I have to say that Rom, I'm always going to look at the faces whenever I look at your pieces because I have to say that getting those expressions right. I have to say especially these last 2 panels. Let me zoom in here. You get this I don't know exactly what happened. It seems like she's recovering, and we talked about the mood that's in these colors that were chosen. Then when this last panel, it's I can't help but feel it is post-apocalyptic. It is a lot of stuff that's going on. But you know what? We look at her brother, Kieran. Is that his name again? It's he's smiling, man. I have to say that's. She even looks a little bit oh my gosh, what have I been through? And he's a little brother, so he's looking up.
And that's him. That's his personality. A total optimist throughout the novel and the comics. So
that is, and it translates.
Absolutely.
I can see what his purpose is in this storytelling. And Rom, great idea. It's like you could have. This is where, as an artist, you can. Writer, when you're a writer, Braxton, you're scripting out the page. I don't know if you gave him directions. Say, hey, when we do, Kieran is going to be in the last page,
right?
Or the last panel of this page. This is the perspective. I don't know if you told him that, but if you didn't, I'm just going to say that this is a great synergy between the two of you because even if you didn't tell him, even if you did tell him, it still is in the execution.
Absolutely.
And making it so that the positioning of where his head is in the panel. How he's looking up, his expression. It's that's that ray of sunshine in an apocalypse,
Right.
And that's the vibe that I got from it. And I don't even see the letters. I don't even see. I haven't read it, but
letters yet.
but that's what I'm so impressed about. All right, so we've gone through that.
I think Sarah wanted to see the comic cover.
The comic. Okay, yes. Let's put that up here.
One last time before we.
Yeah. So this is a very powerful comic cover. The Julio, if you want to say what Julio is the colorist.
Julio, yeah.
Caballero, yes. If you look at this, it just took Rom's art to another level.
Absolutely.
Color puts an emotional. If you don't get that emotional grab, at your tug at your heart, you see the black and white. Color will definitely do that. It sets the mood, and definitely will play on your heartstrings. And here, it's all about. I don't know. It's kind of like anger and revenge, and like I'm gonna get back at you. So this is the fury of Kisa. So very, very cool stuff here. And I think Sarah actually commented. She said, "Here we go. The cover is dope." So we've gone from great to awesome to just dope. Very, very cool here. And Sarah also said the panels, she loved them. So here's a comment that Sarah mentioned. Rom, does Rom have any ties to the indie game community in Brazil? Do you want to answer that, Rom?
What? Repeat.
Okay, the question is, does Rom have any ties to the indie game community in Brazil? Do you work in the video game?
Yeah.
Do you work in any video game related art?
Video game? If I play?
Yes. Okay, he plays video games, but I was gonna say that means that he knows and he plays video games. So any American or I don't know video game design companies, if you're watching this, get Rom to do character designs for your next video game.
Yes.
He'll bring that same energy to it. Let's see. Yeah, because Sarah wanted to follow up on it. She says, I heard too that Brazil has a community of indie game developers that is growing. I have bought some Brazilian indie games before since they look super fun. Okay, that was the reason why she mentioned it. Okay. All right, so man, time has flown. We are flown. I can't even speak English correctly. Here we go. 2.5 hours of just promoting you guys. It's so easy to promote you because I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, and it's the artwork speaks for itself. And seeing the words that are behind these art pieces, it goes to show that these novels, this hybrid approach where you're doing novels and comics, it works. It was proven by that Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is over, but what I'm going to do is let me put into the comment field. I'm going to put 2 URLs. So let me put that up there right now. Chat. All right, first one is, and obviously you don't need to write this down, but I just want to show it. This is CosbyandMediaProductions.com. You can copy and paste it from the comments field, but if you want to write it down, you're welcome to as well. This is where you can go. The Kickstarter is over, but you can still go here, learn about Cosby Media Productions, and learn about learn about them and actually buy the books. So go there, and there's a second URL you gave me, and I believe actually that's it, right? Cosby Media Productions. It's
the one with the store. Did I give you the one with the store where they can actually go buy the books?
Okay, do me a favor, drop that into the comment field, and what we'll do is I will flash that up, and we can let people see that as well. And I did post at the beginning, and I'll do it again right now. Let me go ahead and put how you can for Braxton. Here we go. Here, if you want to like and follow. No. Okay, this is for. Oh yeah. I'll put it in there. I see that this is how you can follow Braxton on Twitter and Facebook, and for Rom, let me put that in here. And this was at the very top of the comment field, but you can put it. You can see it here right now. This is how you can follow Rom Silva on Instagram and on Facebook, and that's Rom Silva 13 on Instagram and Rom Silva Romaldo Souza on Facebook. And I think you said that you pasted Cosby.
Well, I don't know how to paste it on here, so I put it on.
Oh, yes. Okay, gotcha.
You see it?
Let me. Yes.
And I just put it to you in the chat that we have going.
In the chat. Yep, got it. Let me go ahead and put that in there right now. Let's see. Hold on one moment. Copy link. I believe this is the correct one. There we go.
Yep,
So it's just
it's
just cosbymediaproductions.com/store.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you can purchase the books the novels that are already out. Of course, the comics. I think the comics have they been sent out?
Yeah, all 4 comics are on there, and basically, my books that are connected to the comics are on that because that's what we have inventory. The rest of it, if they just kind of want to get interested in all of it, there's a tab under publishing where they could do CMPDSU. It'll show all the books in the series from all the authors. They click on it, it'll take them to buy it from Amazon. So everything is totally safe and accessible.
Convenient. You can always go to Amazon, so you can have it there. You can buy it directly from your site. So awesome, so good. I did put ways that you can like, follow, subscribe, as well as buy their books. It's in the comment field. It's also at the top of the chat. I would encourage you all to jump on this bandwagon. Or this train. I'm going to say it's the train. It's going to be the Starchild Cosby Media Productions train because full steam ahead. They've got such a stable of talented creators, writers and artists, just like Rom. We saw the fantastic colors of Julio. We saw the other creator comics that are under the Starchild banner. When it's Menzuo, we got what is it? We got Metatron, we got Bark, we got the Cape. You're coming out of the stables. I mean, with all horses, they're all out there. We showed. Let me go ahead and go back to here. Look at this banner. This is their universe. They've got stories to tell. Characters already developed. It's something that I don't want anybody to miss. So definitely check that out. All right, so let's. We're gonna have to go to the final. We're gonna combine this because I don't want to keep you guys any longer, and I just want to wrap these things together. So let's do the final thoughts, which is like the Oscar speech, and talking about the future. So let's mix those two together. So let's start out with the future, what you guys are both going to be doing, and then of course round that up with your thank yous. Right. So did we lose? Oh, all right, there he is. He's back. All right, so let me get Rom back in here. Rom, I don't know how comfortable you are with giving your final thoughts and your thank yous, but if you would rather have Braxton read what you sent to us, what would you like? What would you prefer?
He's muted.
Oh, is he muted?
I mean, on his end, probably.
Okay, I think you're muted. Did you hit the mute button? Yeah, his audio. Oh, I think you're muted because I don't see any audio coming through.
Well, I'll read his part that he sent us if you like.
Okay. Let me send him a text message that you're going to read his thank you. Hold on one second. Okay. All right. So, all right. Is that cool, Rom?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So again, it's the language. It's a little bit of a language barrier. It's a little bit of a technical difficulty that we're having here, but that's not going to stop us from telling Rom's story. Right. So Braxton, we had Rom actually send his final thoughts and his thank you in a text message. So Braxton, if you wouldn't mind reading that for Rom.
Yep. Rom said, "I want to keep working and studying hard and be lucky to meet people like Mr. Braxton, who gave me the opportunity to do his story, and to you, Jarrell, who are helping him publicize his great works on your show." He said, "And with that, I prepare every day more for when the opportunity to enter a major publisher like Dark Horse, Valiant, DC, or Marvel comes along, and I can be prepared to continue the good work." And he is definitely doing great work, and I totally appreciate everything he's helped with us.
Yeah, that's well said, Rom. Oh, we lost him again. Okay, so I just want to say, despite all the technical difficulties and the the language barrier, I don't think we failed Rom in terms of sharing his artwork here with the community. Okay, let's get him back here. All right, thank you, Rom. Thank you. Okay, so let's I'm gonna put you out there, Braxton. I'm gonna let you give your talk about the future for not only Cosby Media Productions, not only Starchild, but I love your story. Just the future for you. Braxton. Yeah. You have a great story. It's very encouraging. It's very inspiring. And then go into your your Oscar speech, and we don't have to go all Will Smith and Chris Rock on it. We just want to hear what you got to say. So all right, I'm going to solo you out, and I'm just going to give the mic to you. So here we go.
Well, thanks again for having us on the show. Really, really great opportunity. I love the chance to talk about the talent that we have in our stable of writers, illustrators, letterers, and of course, just artists, because we are creatives. We're a family of creatives. We support one another. We kind of continue to build out this universe that you see behind me. So thanks for having us on, Jarrell. Also, thank you for everybody who has come on and listened in. And if we intrigued you, please feel free to follow us, continue to see what we're doing. We're posting all the time. We're updating everything. And go over to the site. I feel as if this was a major accomplishment. This is what we set out to do. And I feel like we put together quality products that people are going to really be inspired and impressed by. And hopefully it will draw you back into the wonderful novels that we've done as well. Where I see this going in the future, obviously, as a writer myself, if I was to break it down, I'd go, The Cape would probably be like a limited series, 10 episodes on some digital platform and streaming network. I love what Metatron is about, and I think it'd be a fantastic series of movies from author Lawrence St. John. Bark, definitely go with animation. I think that the storylines are fantastic that Daniel has woven together in this series. And if I'm going to go at Menzuo, I definitely see TV series, serial networking, something like on CW or even on Netflix. I think it'd be fantastic. So all of that just kind of came together. Nobody sat around and was like, hey, let's just do this. I think it was God breathed. I think it was something that just kind of came from God's will in our life, and continuing to allow us to motivate and encourage and inspire one another. And we just put out great products that I think people are going to enjoy, and they're going to be heralded as achievements in the indie scene. So we had the opportunity to come talk to you guys today. We're very happy about that. We're very grateful, and we don't take any of our works for gratitude. We're just glad that we can give them to you guys, and that you can enjoy it, and hopefully you can just dive into our world. The CMP DSU is right here for you, and just continue to like and share and just spread the word about what we're doing.
Sorry, I know I hit the wrong button. I was like, that is a great Oscar speech, and I hit the wrong button. So I'm so sorry, Matt. But anyway, it was my pleasure. It was my honor to have both of you here on the show, and the future is bright. The future is bright for Braxton, for Rom. I used to joke around and say, hey, I can't wait to see your my guest work on Netflix. Of course, we had the weird Netflix news that they lost I don't know, their stock dropped and 2 million subscribers. So maybe it's not Netflix, but maybe saying I'm excited because I think that you have IPs that have legs on them.
Thank you.
They're gonna run far, and I could see that. Maybe there's an animated movie, maybe there's a live TV show. I have no idea, but I think it's there. I think you have IPs that can definitely turn some heads. Take note on this April 24th. I'm saying it. It's not like I'm anybody, but I'm gonna say that I'm looking forward to Starchild and Rom becoming household names. It'd be great to see indie creators just shoot for the stars. And Starchild. That wasn't intentional. Right. That was a nice pun. So we can have you guys on the show anytime. The door is open. I love featuring creators that have IPs that really encourage and inspire our guests and me personally. So that being said, like we do with every show, we end with a shout out to our charity partner. Let me put that up right now. And that charity partner is Golden Fight, and you can follow them. You can find them at goldenfight.org. So there at the bottom, you can see what that is. Let me hide that real quick. Golden Fight. What is Golden Fight? Golden Fight is an organization that I think is both big and small in the best ways possible. Small in the sense is that they are not like super extended. They're not international. They're not national. They have a very focused area in my neck of the woods. It's the Mid-Atlantic region. And by being tightly focused, they can max their ability to help. And what do they help? This is where they are big. This is where they're huge. They help families who have children that are dealing with difficult illnesses like cancer. And when parents are focusing on the healing of their child, inevitably they will have financial difficulties. Mm-hmm. And that's where Golden Fight comes in a big way. I thought the money they raised, I thought it was like 97, 98% that would go to the families, and they would use maybe 1 or 2%, to deal with, like, any charity, any business has to deal with administrative costs. They don't even do that. 100% of the money that they raise goes to the family, and to the families, because the leadership, a lot of the volunteers that work for Golden Fight have either had personal experiences or know somebody who's gone through this particular situation, so they know what kind of an impact they can make by helping out in this way. So if you were on the fence about finding a charity to look into, we are not financially tied to them. We just want to give a shout out to them. But if you want to find a above board organization that really helps families and with children that are dealing with difficult illnesses, this is that organization. So goldenfight.org, check them out. So let me take this off the screen because I want to see everybody's faces. Oh, we lost Rom again. Oh no. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to say that Braxton, you will just have to represent Rom. I'm gonna try and connect with him a little later on to talk about. But the door is open for you guys to come back.
Oh, thank you so much. I
would love to, when you're ready to drop more details, and of course, you can share some of those PC colored artwork that you teased about. But I'm gonna say that look forward. You gotta like and subscribe and follow Braxton and Rom, because that's the only way you're gonna find out when that next Kickstarter is gonna drop. What do you have a date where you're gonna drop?
I think it's gonna be June 1st, but I'll start putting some stuff out and I'll share it with you.
Yeah. Okay, so the target is this summer, June 1st. But the only way you're gonna know know the exact date is if you like and subscribe and follow Braxton, Cosby Media Productions, Starchild Comics. Remember that those are names that I gonna prophesize. I'm gonna say that that's. I would love for those to be household names in the future. So we'll keep that. We'll keep that open there. So that being said, I wanted everybody to like and subscribe, follow Comics Cast. This show is Let It Out, where we feature creators just like Braxton and Rom, and we get to draw along with them. So it was my pleasure to be with you this Sunday. Thank you for being with us. And we're going to continue to do this every Sunday, as long as, God willing, no schedule conflicts. We want to get the word out on creators just like Braxton. So this is Gerald saying, I love you all. I love indie comics. I love indie creators. I just want to tell the world about all of you guys and have you on my show. So we'll see you next week. Comics Cast out.